calling to order the Town Council meeting for January 20th, 2026. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Andrews.
Present.
Councilmember Beckman.
Here.
Councilmember Avazio.
Here.
Vice Mayor Casissa.
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here. Will you please join me for the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It is now open time. Anyone can speak on a matter that is not on the agenda this evening. If you wish to speak, please make your way to the podium and we hear what you have to say.
Don Wilberg, 13 Seminole. I'm a little nervous tonight because this is going to be more of a downer. I want to talk about the thing, in my opinion, that our town does the very worst of, along with all the other jurisdictions around, and that's the design review meeting. Okay. I was on the board of design, sat up there. I've been out here many times, probably hundreds of times in design review meetings. And this is my story. This is the way that it works. You get an applicant and they're going to put a bunch of money into improving the town. And then there's always other people around who don't want what they're going to do on their property. Okay, so they come to the council and the council has passed these rules that the staff has made up. And as I said before, it's to their best. I mean, and they borrow it from other places and all that, but it's in their best interest to pass new rules and new regulations. So now what happens is that the council then can force the applicant to give property rights to the neighbors. And that, in my opinion, violates rule number 7. Thou shalt not steal. Right? It also encourages, those rules encourage the neighbors to violate rule number 10. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. Okay. Then the town forces the applicant to pay for the whole process. And that's money that they could use to improve the approved part of the town. I mean, improve part of the town. But that's not the biggest problem. This process uses the divide and conquer mentality. And what that means is, well, I have 2 neighbors on my street that have not talked to each other for 20 years because of a meeting like this. I mean, a design review meeting. 2 blocks away, there was a couple that was going to put $1 million into a dump of a house. And through the process that they went through and all the anguish that they went through with the town and their neighbors, they eventually sold and moved out, and the house is still a dump. Is there a way that we can change this process instead of being a complaining negative situation? Can we make it a positive situation? Can we make it so that people want to come and be positive, possibilitize?
Okay, everyone has 3 minutes. Please keep your eye on the timer, please. Thank you. Too much stuff up here.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Rhett Crowett, and I am a senior at Redwood High School, and I live on Sonora Way. With the spring semester starting, it's a reminder of the importance of focusing on the health of teenagers in Corte Madera. Every day, I see my classmates and friends vaping nicotine and using Zyn and other oral nicotine pouches throughout school, in the classrooms, hallways, bathrooms, and parking lots. These teens are destroying their bodies and minds, all because they are addicted to nicotine. Nicotine is a powerful neurotoxin that damages the brains of young people. What my classmates and I see every day is reflected in local data. Vaping rates at Redwood remain high, and cigarette smoking is still a substantial problem. From my personal observation, my classmates are using Zyn nicotine pouches at higher rates than vapes, cigarettes, or any other nicotine product. The nicotine in these products has been advertised and marketed towards youth for years by the tobacco and nicotine companies, whose goal is to create the next generation of loyal, addicted young customers. Nicotine and the products that deliver it, such as oral nicotine pouches, vapes, and cigarettes, cause many negative health effects for teens whose brains are still developing. These include increased anxiety, depression and irritability, tooth decay, gum disease, depression, nausea, and a long-term dramatic increase in the risk of many types of cancer, particularly lung disease or lung cancer and oral cancer. When I was 2.5 years old, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And over the next 3.5 years, my doctors gave me hundreds of medicines intended to save my life. These medicines, while helpful, also carried with them side effects that I live with to this day. While the side effects of these medicines are inescapable, the detrimental effects of nicotine addiction are entirely preventable. By considering a policy ending the sale of tobacco and nicotine products, Corte Madera would be acting decisively to protect youth and community members from the deadly and yet preventable effects of nicotine and tobacco. The policy you are considering will, according to the existing research, decrease the chances for youth to begin using nicotine products, as well as discourage continued use. The policy will help more people to seek cessation support and help them reduce their risk of experiencing the devastating effects of nicotine addiction and tobacco. Thank you for your consideration and commitment to the health of our youth.
In the interest of time, can we please refrain from applauding? You can give a thumbs up, maybe? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eiley Diener, and I've lived in Corte Madera for the last 5 years. I'm also a senior and student athlete at Redwood High School, and I'm involved in both academics and athletics. And through those experiences, I've seen a shocking and concerning amount of tobacco and nicotine use amongst students. When I entered high school as a freshman, I was surprised that my peers even had access to products like Zyn pouches, vapes, and other nicotine products. Since then, from what I've personally observed, the number of students using these products has only increased, and many are starting at younger ages than ever before. I have a little sister in 6th grade, and I'm scared for her because I know that pressures and availability has only increased since I was in her position. I also play soccer for Redwood and previously played lacrosse as an underclassman. I also have close friends on the cheer, basketball, and track teams, amongst other sports, and I used to believe that athletes in particular would protect their health and lungs. Instead, I've seen that some student athletes are the most frequent users. Even more concerning is that students who may not fully understand what tobacco or nicotine actually is and how it impacts their mental and physical health are using these highly addictive and harmful products regularly. What this shows is that tobacco and nicotine addiction is not limited to one group. Students involved in band, drama, art, and sports are all being recruited by the tobacco and nicotine industry. This is not an isolated issue, and it is not something teens can address on our own. We need support. Tobacco and nicotine companies target young people because they know we represent long-term profit. Get us hooked now and you'll have us forever. Flavored products, bright packaging, and the appeal of risk are designed to attract my generation. Additionally, the idea of nicotine and tobacco use as normal has become prominent due to social media. Users post videos in which they are smoking and disregarding the consequences. Even between scrolling through my reels, ads pop up advertising Juul vapes, Zyn nicotine pouches, and other new nicotine products. Everything around us is geared towards selling product at the cost of vulnerable teens. I live down by the Nugget in Corte Madera, and there's the liquor store right there. And every day I drive by and I see the huge ads for new products, for new nicotine products. The result is visible in our schools and our community. Addicted teens use nicotine in the bathrooms, classrooms, parking lots, and other shared spaces, including, shockingly, the sidelines of my soccer field. This is where adults and local leaders can make a difference. By ending or further restricting the sale of tobacco and nicotine products in Corte Madera, you can help prevent youth use, support students who want to quit, and create a healthier environment for young people. Your actions have the power to protect me, my siblings, my friends, my fellow peers, and children now and into the future of our community. Thank you for listening and considering this important issue.
Good afternoon. My name is Mariana Silva. I am a student at Redwood High School, and I'm a proud member of this community. Corte Madera is a place that I deeply admire and care about. It is a community known for its values, its beauty, and its commitment to the well-being of its residents. However, recently I have noticed a troubling shift, one that is becoming increasingly visible among other students at Redwood High School. There has been a significant rise in nicotine use, with students vaping and sharing tobacco products like Zins in school bathrooms and other spaces meant to be safe. As a student, it is painful to watch so much potential be put at risk by nicotine addiction. Nicotine is not harmless. It is a highly addictive substance, comparable to being as addictive or even more addictive than cocaine and heroin. This is not my opinion. This is said by UCSF Health. Addiction at such a young age can affect brain development, academic performance, mental health, and long-term well-being. I believe Corte Madera has the opportunity to protect its youth and return to being a community where students are not being held back by addiction. One effective way to do this is by implementing a total ban on the toxic tobacco products within Corte Madera, similar to policies already adopted in Beverly Hills, Manhattan Beach, and more recently, Tiburon and Ross. These bans have been proven successful. They reduce overall consumption and, just as importantly, decrease the normalization of smoking and vaping among people. When tobacco products are no longer easily accessible or visible in everyday spaces, fewer people start using them. A common misconception about these bans is that they simply push sales into neighboring cities. However, studies following the Beverly Hills ban found that nearby communities did not experience a significant increase in tobacco sales. In other words, the policy did not just shift the problem, it reduced it. I'm asking you to consider the long-term health of students and adults like me and the future of this community. A tobacco sales ban is not about punishment or control. It is about prevention and protection. Corte Madera has the chance to set a powerful example and show that the health of its people come first. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Good evening. My name is Lily Kilgore, and I am a student at Redwood High School and a member of the Tobacco Use Prevention Education team at Redwood. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the tobacco and nicotine product placement and advertising in Corte Madera and how it targets children and teens. So if you flip to the first page on the pamphlet we gave you, you can see how right under the grab bar for the Colonial Liquor Store in Corte Madera, there's Zyn advertising at an eye level that is not suitable for adults or even teenagers. That would be more young children. If you flip to the next page, you can see it right above the candy sections at the checkout at the same store. It's the same advertising, only just a little bit higher than the candy, not at eye level for adults or teens. The next page shows it in the background of the Colonial Liquor Store, of the behind the counter in bright packaging and displayed in prominent lighting. The next page is a similar at Paradise Wine and Spirits. If you look closely underneath the grab bar, there's the Zins advertising, again at an inconvenient eye level for adults. The next page is the same. The next page shows the candy aisle at Paradise Wine and Spirits, and right above that, there's the Zins placement and nicotine product placement. You can see in the next page how similar the packaging is and the colors displayed draw the eye. Chevron in Town Center has the same advertising on beneath the grab bar, and then the next page is a close-up. They're doing advertisings for the sales and discounts of nicotine and tobacco products, again, by grab bars or on eye levels prevalent for children. Again, in the background of the Chevron at Town Center is behind the checkout in big, bold packaging. And then the Union 76 that's turning into the Chevron, there is behind the counter and even more behind the counter if you turn to the next page. And the same on the next. The Quickie Serve has the same advertising beneath the grab bar and on behind the counters. And the Safeway at Town Center has a similar packaging. It's behind the thing in almost like a vending machine shaped box with the warning that is required to have on it by Corte Madera is much higher and not at eye level for children.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Jeremiah Mock. I'm a resident of Corte Madera and a professor at the University of California, San Francisco. I spent the last 30 years studying the tobacco industry and their tactics and strategies to get young people addicted and the environmental impact of their products. And I just want to quickly say that if you have never seen the nicotine pouches, this is the most recent brand that the industry has introduced. It has 20 pouches in it. Each one of these has 15 milligrams. That's about 10 times the amount of nicotine that somebody will absorb from smoking a cigarette. And one of these, if a toddler swallows it, it will put him in the emergency department. 2 of these will kill a toddler. They're designed to leach nicotine. And I have been doing research all throughout Corte Madera, particularly in Town Park and over in the park by the Cove. And I've done field work at 31 other parks along Northern California, starting from Novato going all the way to Cupertino. And we have the worst problem of any of the jurisdictions of nicotine waste being discarded on the ground. And if you want to take a look at it, I can show you what the pouches look like. And these are 35 pouches I found in the parking lot at just one side, the west side of Redwood, yesterday on the ground, scattered all over the place, just in case. I'm sure you believe these students are very credible, but this is the physical evidence of addiction and the pollution that it's causing, because nicotine is an EPA-regulated toxic substance. It's an environmental hazard, and the pouches are synthetic plastic, and they break down into microfibers. And no, these are nicotine pouches. And as for cigarette butts, they're one of the top 10 causes of wildfire ignition and structural fire ignition. So I just wanted to point those things out for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tried to get close because I'm short. My name is Laura Richards, and I live at 350 Chapman Drive. I stand before you this evening representing many neighbors and friends who use and support the preservation and renovation of the Tainter Steps, not far from where we gather here this evening, located at the hub of Chapman Park at Willow Avenue and Chapman Drive. You can see this location in a large photo that's a historic photo that's framed in the building permit room nearby, and also in a chapter devoted to Chapman Park in the book of Corte Madera history written by Arjana Howell. I spoke before the Bicycle and Pathways Committee over a year and a half ago with the same concerns. This community concern was brought before the Corte Madera Town Council on February 1st, 1965. I had just graduated from high school. It was 61 years ago. With a petition of 60 citizens' signatures then submitted, the council at that time approved the resolution number 749, which are in the records, to maintain the steps, but rather than an occasional blowing down of leaves, no structural maintenance or repairs have ever been done. For the past 120 years, since the 1906 earthquake, these stairs have served as a direct route on and off the hillside for children walking to school, men and women on their way to bus transit stops for work, and for leisure, hiking and walking to further outdoor destinations for our citizens. It was after the earthquake in San Francisco that many people wanted to build in Marin, and Mr. Chapman, who owned the Chapman Valley, commissioned Mr. Tainter to sell the 800 lots there. The first thing that Mr. Tainter did was build Tainter Steps so that the citizens could get back to the train, and there was a train stop at Chapman Park to get to Sausalito, to the ferry, and into the city. Many citizens from other parts of Marin County and the greater Bay Area have discovered Tainter Steps since the COVID shutdown, when access to the outdoors was vital for families and pets. Over the 120 years of the stairs' lifetime, the roots from the trees planted by Mr. Tainter for beautification have encroached. Little did he know that this would happen, and they have damaged the steps. There are 197 steps total, 80 on the lower tier and 117 on the upper, with 42 to 45
Please,
steps
excuse me.
being in the most need of
Can you-
repair.
Excuse me, your timer just went off. Can you wrap it up now?
Can I just finish? Okay.
Just if you have just a little more to go, okay?
Unfortunately, with the condition of the 42 steps at the top tier, our growing senior population is concerned about their safety, as are all of us. This pathway also offers an exit route in the event of NRG evacuation from the hillside homes, but safety is a concern here also. As the cities of Larkspur, Mill Valley, and Sausalito have addressed the maintenance of their historic pathways put in place over 100 years ago, we too hope that the last of our town's history can be saved for future generations to come. The steps are a legacy. I thank each of you for listening to our concerns, and it is our hope that Tainter Steps can be taken seriously on the agenda for the year 2026. I invite Mr. Wolf and Mr. Good to take a walk with me up Tainter Steps.
Thank you.
And-
You can submit your remarks either by email or in person, and we will receive the rest of your statement.
May I please have the folks from Tainter Steps and the community at large that are interested in this effort stand? Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Hello, my name is Dan Phipps. I reside at 477 Chapman, and I've been a resident, I just never counted up, but I think it's now 24 years. I am a user of the Tainter Steps. My children are alumni or whatever you would call it of using that steps. From the very beginning of their time at Neil Cummins, we formed a walking group which would meet at the top of the Tainter Steps and walked all the way down to Neil Cummins. And that went on from kindergarten all the way through the 5th grade. The people we met, the kids we met, we're still in contact with those kids. The parents we met on that thing, we're still in contact with those people. It has been a thread that has bound us together with that experience of holding hands as we walked to school together. It's a magical memory for me. And I also, I guess I didn't realize I'm a senior too. I guess I also use the stairs myself, and it is a great means of cutting through the traffic. And if there were a means of egress needed from the hillside up there, this staircase really offers a great opportunity for people to get out. It's also a through way to get to not the train station, but the train track, which is now a walking path. And it's just a marvelous way to take a walk or to get someplace. I'm a walker now in this chapter of my life. The upper section of the Tainter Steps is in much more disrepair than the lower section. But it seems to me like after 120 something years now, it's about time that it got some attention. And I think if you could, it would be greatly appreciated by not just myself, but I think a lot of these neighbors, as you can see by the turnout here, really care about it. But other people from other neighborhoods come here and use those steps. And there are many people that walk up and down Chapman and those steps that aren't from around here. And it's just a marvelous area in Corte Madera. It's pretty magical. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Margie Peterson. I'm the owner of Peterson's Consigned Design, located at 21 First Street in Old Corte Madera Square. I've had my business for 27 years, and for the better part of those years, I've been requesting permanent signage for the square. Now, that signage would be at the corner of Redwood and Montecito, and where I would love to see all of the businesses on that sign. That's quite a few. What I'm proposing are the businesses on Montecito and First Street. Those are the businesses that are not visible from the main road. It would just be a very nice redwood A-frame sign with placards of the names of those businesses. And there's a total of 8 businesses. I have a letter here with signatures for those merchants of those businesses. So, as I said, I've been in business for 27 years, and there's not a day that goes by where someone doesn't come into my store and say, "Oh, are you new?" Or "I didn't even realize that there are businesses back there." So I think this is very urgent, very important, and I hope that you consider it. Thank you. Bye.
My name is Andrew Foster. Can I start? My name is Andrew Foster. I'm a 21-year resident of Corte Madera. I live at 8 Stetson Avenue, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of raising 3 daughters, almost all of whom are out of the house now. I want to speak on 2 points tonight. I came to support Laura and the rest of my neighbors in favor of renovating and repairing the Tainter Steps. I think they're a vital point of egress in our neighborhood. And I want to stress that I think while Laura testified very wonderfully to the history and the culture and the legacy and the recreative use of those steps, I want to stress that after the storms we've just been through and the Palisades fire last year, we can see that the environmental effects that are beginning to ravage our country. And I think those steps can serve as an important part of emergency egress, particularly for our senior citizens, but really for the whole neighborhood, where an emergency evacuation may be necessary and vehicular transportation or even bicycles might not cut it in that event. So we really need to think about our safety of our community, and I really recommend it for that reason alone. Second, I happen to be in a unique position to also recommend the comments of the first speaker tonight about the design rules in the city. I have undertaken a very substantial design project myself. I think many of my neighbors know of it. It's next door to my house at 403 Chapman. I happen to love the design, but I do understand that a community such as this one needs to balance the objectives of an individual and their right to develop their property under California statute with the needs of and preferences of the community. So I understand that balance has to be struck, but I would also agree with the first speaker that the process is far too politicized, particularly at the design review stage. And I would recommend reviewing the design standards for a more objective focus, as has been brought to bear by the California State Legislature on ADU design. It did impede me from having the proceeds to invest in one of the pathways. I've actually invested in one of the former public pathways that the city has decided, or the town of Corte Madera has decided to lie fallow and go into a neglect for the benefit of one of my neighbors that's in the audience, and for, frankly, the whole neighborhood. Again, maybe not everyone likes the design that I've used, but I've spent my own money improving that pathway for egress and for beauty and for recreation. So I hope you do consider the importance of all the public pathways in Corte Madera, but especially for emergency use. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another speaker in the room? Sir, are you wanting to speak? All right, thank you. Do we have any people online wanting to speak?
Yes, we're going to start with Roy Wolford.
Go ahead, Roy.
Good evening. The Greenbelt Alliance published on January 12th of this year an article titled Marin's King Tide Floods Are a Climate Wake-Up Call. It begins, in the first days of January, hundreds of homes and businesses across Marin County experienced historic levels of flooding as the natural phenomena of king tides combined with heavy rainfall. Not unexpectedly, the article neglected to mention the number one factor related to tidal flooding, that is subsidence, settlement of bay mud. My property was completely inundated with tidal water, and the garage was flooded on 3 successive days, 2.5 inches, 3.5 inches, and 8.5 inches. Maximum water depth outside was 11 inches. It was the first time in 52 years, that's 1974, there was flooding of my garage from natural causes. On January 3rd, the most severe flooding, the peak preliminary tide reading at the Richmond station was 8.71 feet. On February 6, 1998, 27 years earlier, the Richmond station recorded a record tide at that time of 8.69 feet. But my property didn't flood then. Why? Because my property was over 1 foot higher in elevation at the time. From 1900 to 2025, 125 years, there has been a little over 1 foot of sea level rise in San Francisco Bay. Since 1959, 67 years ago, 5.5 feet of settlement has occurred where I live. That's a net drop in elevation over 3.5 feet. Had there been no settlement in Mariner Cove, the property would not have flooded. Climate change activists claim the cause of tidal flooding is sea level rise. They have stated the sea level has been rising 1 to 2 inches per year since 2015. The facts are the sea level at the entrance of San Francisco Bay shows a rise of 1 to 2 millimeters a year. The activists aren't concerned with facts, only their narrative, and are grossly overstating the sea level rise by a factor of 25 times to 50 times. Also, climate activists claim the only existential threat to their community is climate change. The facts are there are numerous existential threats: earthquakes, subsidence, wildfires, infrastructure failure, financial and institutional withdrawal, water supply disruption, pandemic scale infection diseases, cyber attacks. It is not helpful to have the climate activists misrepresent the circumstances around tidal flooding either unintentionally, ignorantly, and/or deliberately. Please stop the nonsense, as you offer no real-world solutions, only political rhetoric.
We have one more one more hand raised from John Ma.
Go ahead, John.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is John Ma. I'm a general surgeon at Marin Health. I served as 2018 president of the San Francisco Marin Medical Society, which represents nearly 3,500 physicians across Marin and San Francisco. I'm honored to speak in support alongside the Marin High School students and Professor Jeremiah Mock to urge you to adopt a comprehensive tobacco control plan in 2026. Tobacco use, unfortunately, remains the leading cause of preventable death in America, with an economic toll estimated by UCSF researchers at nearly $550 per resident in Marin County in 2009. Nicotine addiction is particularly harmful to youth and the developing brain, with around 70% of smokers reporting they want to quit. Ending the sales of these deadly products would help them achieve that important goal. I'd also like to honor tonight one of Corte Madera's most beloved and well-known residents who passed last week, Mr. Doug McConnell, whom I had the good fortune to meet through the American Heart Association over a decade ago. A two-time stroke survivor, Doug was a passionate champion for cardiovascular health. He emceed the American Heart Association Heart Walk several years. He and I would meet at his favorite Cafe Verde for walks during the pandemic. I last saw Doug 2 months ago at Marin Health, just hours before the successful Tiburon vote to end tobacco and nicotine product sales there permanently. Doug was delighted to hear of this progress in tobacco control, and he pledged to join a similar effort in Corte Madera to curb the health hazards of smoking. Preliminary data from Beverly Hills demonstrated that after adopting their law to end tobacco product sales, the smoking prevalence there fell nearly 50% from around 6% in 2019 to 2.9% in 2023. I would now ask that Corte Madera consider a strong ordinance regulating the sale of tobacco and nicotine products, except those that are FDA-approved cessation aids. Thank you for your leadership and time.
Thank you.
And then we did get one more hand raised from Bob Bundy. Oh, and then another one just went up. We'll start with Bob Bundy.
Okay, thank you. I just, as a member of the Flood Board in Corte Madera, I do want to concur with a lot of what Roy Wolford said. He and I have had discussions in regard to sea level rise versus subsidence. And I agree, and we've studied this over the years, and there has been subsidence because we built on bay mud. And some of us are out towards the water and on a lot more bay mud. The settlement has been somewhat differential as you move through the neighborhood. You can see areas where it has probably subsided 5 feet, and others that it's not clear how much it subsided, and it's much less than that. But the issue with the flooding is that we have to deal with the tides. We are not going to be able to do anything about subsidence. So the treatment and the mitigation that we have to create to prevent flooding going forward really relates to the tides, the atmospheric rivers that the storm surges really are adding to those king tides, and the sea level rise, which is not exponential but could be, and we just need to stay ahead of what the current slow level of sea level rise is to protect our neighbors, protect the community, protect the property. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then one more hand raised from Pamela Granger.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. I didn't get my lower and upper down. Sorry about that. I'm Pamela Granger, a volunteer co-chair of Smoke Free Marin, a coalition of nonprofits, educators and parents, and healthcare professionals that has supported Marin jurisdictions in reducing the harmful effects of tobacco use since 1988. While our goal has never changed, the tobacco nicotine industry sure has. When I got started in tobacco prevention and advocacy about 25 years ago, we were dealing with cigars, cigarettes, and chew. And as most of you know, as we were making progress with helping folks to quit and taking action to prevent kids from starting, the industry was very creative. Not one to give up quickly. They have gone on to develop a wide variety of tobacco, now synthetic nicotine products, in order to sustain their bottom line. So tonight I'm calling in really to reinforce and to thank our youth for speaking. I'm calling in support of the council developing and passing a strong ordinance restricting the sale of tobacco and nicotine products, except FDA-approved cessation aids. That will help children and youth in Corte Madera from starting addictive tobacco and nicotine products, and it will support people in quitting. And if you don't care about the people, it will also help the environment because nicotine and tobacco products are deadly for the animals just as well as they are for people. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, no other hands are raised. And aside from the emailed public comment that was set prior to the meeting and uploaded to the website, no other comments were received for open time.
Thank you. At this time, since we have no more comment, we will now go to presentations. And we will receive an update from Larkspur Corte Madera School District Facilities, Safety Initiatives. We have 3 people from very illustrious people, Brett Geitman, Megan Atkins, and Ava Fruin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to the council again. As you know, earlier this year, we spoke about school safety, and now this is the next evolution in our commitment to increasing school safety and improving our facilities. So we'll go ahead and advance that slide. Perfect. We recently had and presented a 2026 Facilities Strategic Plan to the Board of Trustees. The former plan was in 2022. Sorry, you can advance one more slide. Thank you. And one more, sorry. Perfect. The former plan was from 2022 to 2032. That plan was primarily focused on maintaining our facilities, right? And doing typical replacement cycle. So whether a roof needed to be replaced, making sure that roof was replaced, windows, etc. Between 2022 and current day, what we found and we've seen in all industries is that the cost of materials and the cost of labor has increased significantly. So our estimated annual cost was roughly $670,000 per year to perform that ongoing maintenance and replacement cycle. What's come in over the last couple of years has been anywhere between $800,000 and $1 million. So that has dramatically increased due to those overall costs. Additionally, we've had several projects that have popped up that were unforeseen. So one was the study that we did regarding school safety, indicating a need for perimeter fencing. When we had the Keenan analysis, which was our insurance provider, that was the only red flag that we received on a report, was the access because of a lack of perimeter fencing. We went through an extensive community engagement process with strong support for that fencing. However, that costs up to $3 million to secure at all 3 school sites. In addition to that, we also own the property at Marin Primary and Middle School, which does need roof replacement. That roof replacement cost has increased significantly compared to what it was back in 2022 when we estimated it. So what you can see is if you advance that next slide, our committee actually reconvened and then re-estimated those specific plans and maintenance efforts. So if we go one more slide, thank you. So with that update, looking at anywhere, up to $1 million of ongoing maintenance per year, plus the fencing project and the additional roofing project, and an escalator for the next 10 years, we're looking at roughly $15.5 million to maintain our facilities. Again, these are not major projects, minus the roof that is a necessary project and fencing that has been deemed by insurance as a necessary product or improvement. It's $15.5 million. So we've gone ahead and re-engaged that committee, approved that specific plan. And if you could advance the next slide, please. Again, the goals of our plan are to maintain our existing facilities, keep them safe for our students, for our staff, and for our community members. We really look at Larkspur Corte Madera schools as the hub of our community. And with that, a lot of community members engage in our facilities, and we want to keep them safe and well maintained, while also using eco-friendly materials. And if you could advance the next slide, thank you. These are just some of the guiding principles. We discussed some of these last time, really focused on school safety and equity. And we can go ahead and advance. Thank you. And so just a quick update. These slides are in here for your reference. The next two are simple, just data on our school district, if you're curious about that, or demographics. And we can advance the next one. Thank you. This is by school. If you're curious about that breakdown, we can advance again. Thank you. And so when we take a look at that facilities master planning committee and looked at our overall needs, we have some really important projects here in LCM. So these are some special projects that we've completed this far. On the left side, you see that's a kitchen floor. And I know that's really not an exciting picture, but we had to replace 2 kitchen floors because we were cited for non-compliant kitchen flooring. So we had to go ahead and do that. If you look at those middle pictures, we have a phenomenal teacher, many phenomenal teachers, but one of which is named Dana Swisher, who I'm sure many of you are well aware of, and her nonprofit Refugio. They obtained a Point Blue grant for $300,000 that just finished the replanting of Hall Middle School, that front. So those are learning spaces, natural habitat, phenomenal opportunity we had there. On the far right side, we're going to say we have the best looking gym in Marin County. We had a refresh to our gym. It was built over 20 years ago, had not received even a fresh coat of paint. So we painted it. We put up our Cougar code around that gym, as well as some athletic silhouettes, and really, our community meets there, right? For athletic competition, but also for gathering. So we're proud of that space as well. So when we take a look at what our needs are moving forward, one significant need is around safe and secure campuses. So again, that fencing project, but then also making sure that we have proper lighting, addressing any hazardous conditions, making sure that we have ADA compliant pathways and things of that sort. Go ahead and advance. Additionally, we want to make sure that we're including fire and safety. One of the things that I'm sure many of you are aware of is if we had a natural disaster or some sort of community emergency, our gyms are actually transformed into that hub for first aid and also just overall emergency response, ensuring that we have battery storage, because in the event that we lose power, having battery storage in those facilities would be essential to distribute medication, provide first aid, and provide shelter. And then, of course, just district storage and things of that sort for emergency materials. Go ahead and advance. Yeah.
All right. And so another area that we would like to look into is supporting our essential repairs. So as talked about before, the majority of this is not okay. Sorry. Did I do something wrong? Oh, like I'm like singing up here. Okay. All right. So the next section is our essential repairs. It's looking at updating and repairing our HVAC system, looking at our plumbing infrastructure, repairing, as we talked about, the roofs, not only our own properties, but also Marin Primary, improving our cafeteria and food service, and then strengthening our daily functionality. Next slide. And then while we're going through all of this, we would like to look at smart, sustainable schools. So as we make these improvements, we'd like to look at new solar installation, possible EV chargers, talking about drainage improvements. We've seen that's necessary after these last floods. And again, the rising sea level mitigation projects. Next slide. And then most important, we have our STEM and modern education. So the programs that support our students, we would like to upgrade our STEM labs on all 3 campuses, update the music space at Hall, and then looking across our technology, our Wi-Fi, our infrastructure, improving our one-to-one devices, and again, modernizing all of our servers, switches, and just our security across all campuses. Next slide.
I'm sure you're sensing the S theme here. So the last one is sports and athletics. Larkspur, again, as you can tell, Larkspur Corte Madera schools, we are a hub for sports and athletics between 2 gyms, great fields. We want to make sure that those have proper drainage. They're repaired. Our turf field over at Hall Middle School is on its last year or so of life. And so we need to replace that and would like to also use more eco-friendly filler on that. And again, I think one thing I want to point out here is the ADA accessible playgrounds. There's been some great advancements to creating inclusive spaces so that all children can access play. This is something that is a high priority for us, and we'd like to upgrade our facilities and playgrounds to include those types of models.
Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so when we look at the funding, so not holding it to my face enough. Okay, there we go. Sorry for my issues. So looking at our funding, so what we have is our Fund 35, that has been our modernization fund. We're down to $4.6 million there. So again, that will not cover the next 10 years. We're looking at that $15 million. We also, every year, we have to give 3% of our general fund to our routine maintenance, which is approximately $831,000. That's by Ed Code. So that we plan for. However, just to maintain our campuses where they are right now, we are needing to give an additional contribution of $150,000 to $170,000 every year in order to support routine maintenance. And to put that into perspective, that is the cost of a teacher plus probably an assistant. So those, if we were able to have additional monies, that money would be able to return to the general fund and go directly back to students and supporting program. Next slide. Looking at the potential extra funding. So in addition to that 3%, we had Prop 2 passed in the state in November of 2024. And with that, we are actually eligible for $7.9 million for modernization. However, in order for us to access that 7.9 million, we have to have matching funds of 40% of 5.27 million, which we do not have. Even in our Fund 35 at 4.6, we don't have the matching funds. So right now we are leaving 7.9 million on the table until we can raise additional funds. Next slide. So that brings us to our presentation tonight, talking about a potential bond. So we'd like to talk to you about a proposed bond that we would like to have on the June ballot. Dr. Greithman is going to talk a little bit about our track record and our past as far as our
So we've had another bond on the books that I'm sure everyone's familiar with. And during 2021, when we saw those interest rates sharply decline, while the school district was and everybody else was very busy dealing with COVID and mitigating that whole pandemic, we ended up also refinancing our bonds. So this ended up saving $6.8 million in taxpayer dollars over the life of those bonds. So we bring that up because this is a really important commitment, not only to you as city council, but to our overall community, is that we are stewards of public funds. We take that very seriously. And when we can do things like save $6.8 million, we can go and apply for the state for $7.9 million. And also we apply for grants and been awarded grants now totaling over $1 million of grants, right? Think about all of them. It's essential to the functioning of the school district, but also shows our commitment to funding and supporting community resources.
Okay, so what we are looking at is the Measure 2000, Measure A from 2000 was we are $24.10 per $100,000 assessed value. That bond is set to roll off our taxes in the year 2030. What we are looking at proposing is what's called a bond extension. So it would be extending that tax rate of $24.10 per $100,000 of assessed value, which would bring into the district a potential of $44 million over the 30 years. So when we looked back at that $15 million price tag over 10 years, multiply that by 3, we believe that this is appropriate for us in the amount that we need. So looking at that we would also have the money that we could secure the additional 7.9 million from Prop 2. So that is what we're looking at as a potential bond extension. Next slide, please. And this is just an overview. And what we are bringing to the board tomorrow night is a first read of our bond language. And that would go to the Board of Education to vote in our February 10th board meeting. And if that passes, then we're looking at a ballot item for the June 2nd ballot primary election.
So again, we really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I know that was a lot of information. If we boil it down to a couple key points, is our facility strategic plan committee was reformed. additional needs and overall costs were also analyzed there. We are looking at a bond extension. We're in a unique opportunity right now. So bond extension, $24.10 per 100,000. That allows us to unlock 7.9 million of state funding. And again, it's important just to celebrate the almost $7 million that we saved taxpayers in bond refinance. So thank you. We're happy to answer any questions. We also greatly appreciate your partnership.
Right, thank you. Do we have any questions from the council members?
Thank you so much for your presentation. One of the things I've been hearing about from some of the younger parents in the community is the fact that we're the only school district that doesn't have transitional kindergarten, which from my looking, it seems it's a state law now that we provide that if we provide kindergarten. And I'm just wondering if you've looked at what it would take financially to make that happen, and is that an option that you're looking at?
Appreciate the question. When we take a look at bond facilities, right? Bonds, an easy way for us to remember: bond buildings, parcel tax, programs, people. So when we think about this particular presentation tonight, this would only support buildings and things of that sort. But talking about overall programming, one thing that we've done is we've formed a partnership with the College of Marin. They're able to access CSPP funds. So our families that are high need that meet the criteria for CSPP, it's directly on our website. They can go to College of Marin, fill out that paperwork, and then qualify for their TK program. This also provides additional extended daycare for students that do qualify for CSPP. So we think that that's a great step in that direction towards supporting our families, particularly our families of greatest need. Now, in terms of expanding our TK in general, we have done an analysis of that. One of the challenges is that when you take a look across Marin County or even in the state of California, there's a large variance in funding of school districts. And so if you're deep on the LCFF side, meaning you have a high concentration or high frequency of unduplicated count students, you receive a lot of additional money in terms of supplemental and concentration grant funds. Those allow for programs like TK. When you take a look at other basic aid districts, there are basic aid districts that are very deep. So Reed is very different than Larkspur Corte Madera. Ross is very different than Larkspur Corte Madera because they're much deeper. The property taxes generate more money per pupil. We're right on the cusp between the two. So Ross Valley, Larkspur Corte Madera, Miller Creek, Kentfield, we're all around that same. So we teeter between the two. So it means that we don't receive a lot of additional state money, nor do we receive a lot of additional property tax money. So when we look at this and we look at the overall, one of our key indicators, our key strategic priorities is the fiscal health and solvency of the school district. You could see throughout the state right now, a number of school districts are making significant cuts to their budget because they can't afford the continuation of programs like transitional kindergarten and others. The transitional kindergarten is not fully funded, especially for basic aid districts. Should we have transitional kindergarten, what we have to estimate is anywhere from up to $270,000 per classroom to run that program. The reason why is because of the ratios that the state requires us to have, which is 10 to 1. That is typically, the goal is to have a paraprofessional and a classroom teacher. However, if you can't hire a paraprofessional, because sometimes that is quite challenging, you in effect have to hire 2 teachers. So for budgetary purposes, we'd have to identify $270,000 per class. If we mirror our kindergarten classes, we're looking from anywhere from 5 to 7 classes per year times 270. We simply just don't have that in our budget. However, going back to my original state, sorry, that was a really long answer. I apologize. Too much detail.
Thank you. I was just thinking maybe we should sit down and talk at another time.
We should. I think that would be fantastic. And to when we take a look at the highest priority, right? Our students with the highest need, we have a partnership with College of Marin. We have a way for them to access early childhood education, and we're proud to do that and always looking at ways to expand. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a couple for you. And thanks for the presentation, by the way. You guys do a great job with the school district, so it's greatly appreciated. Have you done any polling, or is it too preliminary? Just kind of get an indication where voters are at? Because I know last year, a couple of school districts, I think, had trouble trying to pass bond measures.
So we took a look at polling. Polling costs roughly $28,000 to $32,000. If you look historically at the Larkspur Corte Madera School, our bonds and parcel tax measures pass with a high frequency of or high percentage of community support. Our last parcel tax was the highest support measure that the district has put in place. With this particular one, the difference between a parcel tax and a bond is at 55%, a parcel tax is at 66%. We're confident that because not only this is a 55% threshold, but also historical community support, we feel that it was in the best interest of the school district to preserve that $28,000 to $32,000 and use it towards student program or other means within our general fund rather than a poll. So to answer your question, we did not use
Okay, thanks. But it sounds like you guys have everything pretty much teed up. The other question, which I can't remember, are seniors exempt from the paying on those bonds? They're
Seniors
not.
are not exempt
I
from
can
bonds.
never remember.
Parcel taxes, yes. Bonds, no.
Okay. And then there's a couple projects in here. One was related to gym, another one is sea level rise. In parentheses, it said, if feasible. Does that mean that you're looking at those only if you have the money available to pay for those?
It would be money if we had it available. It would be community interest. Taking a look again, this is a 30-year bond. So seeing what the interest would be for a gym, I know back in 2014, it was value engineered out at Cove School. However, there is a high interest, right, of athletics facilities here in Marin County and shortage of gyms. That would be something we want to explore. At the same time, we've also heard a lot, even this evening regarding Marin or Coven itself, for the ability to either raise buildings or build more flood resistant type structures. So those are things that we'd want to, and the easements, yes.
Okay. And the funds are totally restricted to construction, maintenance, that type of work, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Again, you guys do a great job. Greatly
Thank you. We
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Any questions down this end?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One question is, I noticed that if you add together the students at Cove and Neil Cummins, it's just under 700 students. Then I looked that there's only 425 students at Neil Cummins. Where do the other students go?
We have students at Hall, Cove, and Neil Cummins.
Mm-hmm.
So that is our school district. So we have the roughly 1150 students between those three sites.
Right, but I'm just saying that if all the Neil Cummins and Cove students graduate up to the middle school, why is the middle school student count so much lower than the sum of the two elementaries?
Got it. It's the grade level served. So elementary school serves 6 grade levels, middle school serves 3 grade levels. So we look at it, if you actually look at across a typical grade level, it's anywhere between about 115 to 150 students.
Okay. Then the last thing is, I happen to live over on Hickory, and I know I shouldn't do this, but I cut through your playground in order to get over to the rec center. When you put up your fence around the property, any chance you could put in an all-weather path so you can get from Hickory to the rec center without tromping through the mud?
That would be something that we'd have to discuss with the town to see if that's something that would be, again, obviously everyone here this evening to see if that's a project that would have interest. In our current design phase, we're looking solely at the fencing. The fencing would only remain closed during school hours. It would be open to the public in non-school hours, so people would be able to pass through.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you so much for that presentation and for the additional information you provided. I have no other questions at this time, and I appreciate and hopefully, we will see you back here with updates that are positive. Right. At this time, also, do we have any public comment?
We had someone who was here earlier, but had to leave, and she submitted her comment. It's typed on a piece of paper, so I'm going to start the timer and read the comment into the record. This is from Kiko Lamb Hoskins. Good evening. My name is Kiko, and I'm a parent with 2 young children in the community. I am also a commissioner on our Parks and Recreation Commission. Thank you to the district for the transparency around our financials. I want to speak about TK not just as a school issue, but as a community issue. For young families deciding where to live, early education options are a major factor. TK is often viewed as a part of the public education promise in California, and when it's unavailable, it affects how families perceive the long-term viability and inclusiveness of a town. I understand that our district is a basic aid district and that TK is not currently funded in the same way it is elsewhere. I'm asking for something more fundamental. Can the district commit to a clear plan and a timeline for what would need to happen to make it possible in the future? I'd also like to ask whether the town can play a role in that path forward. Retaining and attracting young families strengthens our schools, our economy, and our community, and early education is a key part of that ecosystem. My hope is that TK is treated not as a closed decision, but as a shared community priority. And we didn't receive any additional public comment.
Okay, and do we have any more comment from the dais? All right. But did we?
If you're speaking for public comment, you have to go to the podium to provide your comment.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much for that presentation. We'll move on now to the next item, which is the consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to group items together which are routine or have been discussed previously and do not require further discussion. They will be approved by a single motion. Any member of the public may comment on the consent calendar. Town council, town staff, or the public may request the removal of any item from the calendar. Do we have any thing that you would like to remove here on the dais? No? Anyone from the public?
We didn't receive anything via email, and we don't have any hands raised from attendees at this time.
All right, then. Well, I will entertain a motion for approving the consent calendar.
So moved.
I'll second.
Councilmember Andrews?
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you. On to public hearings. The first one is consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance 1075, amending Title VI, Health and Sanitation of the Corte Madera Municipal Code to amend Chapter 610, reusable foodware, and repeal and reenact Chapter 6.18, carryout bags, and single-use carryout bags, and to align with the Senate bills 1053 and 1046. And I believe we have a report from Phoebe Golden.
Comment and council members. Report for you tonight on the second reading of ordinance 10.7, which was introduced at the December 16th, 2025 council meeting by a 4-1 vote. The proposed ordinance, as mentioned, amends Title VI, Health and Sanitation of the Corte Madera Municipal Code to align with 2 new state bills related to the bags that are provided at food and beverage stores. This is Senate Bill 1053, which relates to carryout bags provided at point of sale, as well as Senate Bill 1046, which covers pre-checkout bags used for produce and other loose items before checkout. And both of these bills are aimed at reducing plastic waste. The proposed alignment includes adopting by reference sections of the California Public Resources Code that relate to these new laws. And because of that, that's the reason this is on the agenda tonight as a public hearing rather than on the consent, similar to the process for adopting the building code updates. When it's adoption of state code by reference, it needs to be a public hearing on the second reading. However, there have not been any changes to the ordinance since council reviewed it in December. And the overall goal of this ordinance is to create consistency between state and local requirements and retain the town's enforcement authority over bag regulations at food and beverage stores, should we need to exercise it, which is not a situation that staff anticipates. And so staff's recommendation this evening is that the town council, after reviewing all information, presentations, and public testimony, adopt ordinance number 1057, which was included as attachment 1 to this item, to amend Title VI to align with these Senate bills 1053 and 1046. And I'm happy to answer any questions or go in more detail if council wishes.
All right. Ooh. What happened there? Oh, because that one's on. Yeah, I guess that's it. It's weird. Thank you. All right. Do we have any questions from the council? No. Okay. Is there any public comment on this item?
No hands raised from our attendees online and no emailed public comment for this item.
All right. So shall we ask for a motion at this time?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to adopt ordinance number 1057, amending Title VI as stated in the staff report.
And I'll second.
Councilmember Andrews?
No.
Councilmember Beckman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on now to business item 6A, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution 2026, approving the town Corte Madera ADA self-assessment report and authorize the Public Works Director to execute an amendment to the professional services agreement with Altura Solutions LLC, increasing the not to exceed amount by $12,320 to a revised total contract amount of $196,190. And to present this report, we have Nick Cartiena and Chris Good.
Thank you, Mayor Thomas and Council. So as mentioned, we'll be presenting the results of the town's ADA self-assessment and requesting council to approve the resolution to adopt the ADA self-assessment report. This ADA self-assessment is part of the town's long-term goal of making our service programs and infrastructure more accessible for all members of the community. Staff, along with our consultant, Altura Solutions, have spent almost 2 years putting together this report to understand the existing accessibility conditions and to guide future planning, capital improvements, and compliance efforts. Tonight we have Chewy and Juvelin from Altura Solutions, as well as our senior civil engineer, Nick Cartagena, who managed the project for the town. And with that, I'll pass it off to Nick to discuss the project goals and prior accessibility work.
Okay, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm just going to run through a few slides to give additional background and history of this effort before handing it off to the consultants to go through the report and the work that it took to get there in a little bit more detail. So the American Disability Act gives us Title II of the ADA Act, applies to all state and local governments. Now, being a smaller town, we, with under 50 employees, we are not required to do a formal transition plan, but rather a self-evaluation, which this self-assessment is and satisfies that requirement. And it also sets us up for, in the future, if we ever do need to do a full transition plan, or if we grow into a larger organization, then we're in a good position to that next milestone. The ADA emphasizes ongoing access and reasonable progress. What's key is it's not perfection. It's a bit of a snapshot in time of where we're at, and we're taking a look at where we're at now and also how to to prioritize things in the future to continue improvements. I should also mention that this proactive effort, it reflects the town's longstanding commitment to accessibility and inclusion. Next slide, please. So our goal for this effort was to conduct a comprehensive townwide ADA self-assessment of programs, services, facilities, parks, and also digital content like our town website. This included, as I mentioned, physical assessments of our facilities and parks, as well as programmatic and policy evaluations. The process included input from staff, public feedback, and they also provided ADA-specific training as part of the process. All departments worked proactively together. And as Chris mentioned, it was a multi-year effort led by Altura, who's a nationally experienced ADA consultant, with a local consultant also who is more specific to California state laws. Next slide, please. I should also mention that this builds on past efforts that the town has undergone, such as the 2013 barrier removal implementation plan, the 2020 sidewalk program, and public right-of-way improvements that we've ongoing efforts, as well as recent park and facility upgrades and master planning efforts. As I mentioned already, this report is a snapshot in time, as well as a planning tool, and it's not a mandate to fix everything at once. The report, kind of the conclusion of the report, the deliverable of the report is it provides a prioritization framework that helps guide future capital improvement projects, as well as maintenance and operational decisions, and can assist in grant applications and future budgeting. And I believe with that, we're going to pass it on to Chewy and Juvalin from Altura Solutions, who are online.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Jesus or Chuy Lardizabal, and I am with Altura Solutions. And we are a consulting firm that specializes in work with the Americans with Disabilities Act and producing self-assessments as well as transition plans. So first of all, I'd like to commend the town for undertaking this effort. As was mentioned earlier, the town is not required to have a transition plan yet, and this is the first step in creating that transition plan. So we'd like to commend the town in that effort. Move the next slide, please. So just to give you a little bit of a background on the ADA, while many people recognize the ADA and the physical part of it, in that you need grab bars and restrooms, you need accessible sidewalks, etc., it is a civil rights law. And this law prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities at every level of government services. Next slide. The ADA, as I believe Nick mentioned, has several titles, and Title II is the one that we are talking about here today. Title II are the requirements placed on a government agency, such as the town, that prohibits discrimination on any of its services programs that are provided to its residents and to the public. Next slide, please. So this responsibility is basically, it's everyone's responsibility within the town to make sure that you do not unintentionally discriminate against people with disabilities. You know, sometimes we think of, well, I work in this department or I do this specific task and I wouldn't be discriminating against people with disabilities. But, you know, this responsibility falls to everyone, and that everyone must make sure that they are not discriminating. Next slide. And so this extends to not only the built environment, as I've said before, the built environment tends to be something that's easier to understand and see restrooms, drinking fountains, doors, etc., but also extends to your programs, services, or activities. We refer to those as PSAs. And this is what's extended to residents, town staff, visitors, etc. So it covers just about everything that the town does. Next slide. So what we are doing for the town in terms of looking at other policies that have been implemented, such as the barrier implementation plan, the sidewalk program, etc. So we looked at these programs and recognized the work that has gone on by the town. Next slide. So current status, we have inspected town-owned facilities. We have reviewed program services and activities, including the town's website. We've conducted public engagement to help us gauge priorities. And now we're at the adoption stage before you here today. Next slide. So we've mentioned before a self-assessment versus a transition plan. Since the town still does not exceed 50 or more employee threshold, you are required to do a self-assessment by ADA Title II, not a transition plan. However, our vision was to create the self-assessment so that it would be easy for the town to transition over and create the transition plan relatively easily. So you are meeting your Title II federal requirement to do a self-assessment, and all of this work will then lead seamlessly into moving over to the transition plan. Next slide. So your responsibility in terms of the built environment is pretty straightforward. All of your facilities, all of your infrastructure needs to comply. Next slide. So we went out and inspected the built environment. And here's a listing of some of the facilities that we went out and looked at. And just like what we find across the country, the older the facility, the less compliant it is with the ADA, or more barriers that you're going to find. And the newer the facility, the more compliant it is. Next slide. So part of the responsibilities that we discussed are program, service, and activities, as well as policies and procedures. And so we analyzed both of these, and we'll give you some examples to illustrate what these are, because they are subtle differences. Next slide. So program, services, and activities, that's anything that the town does is covered as a PSA. So it's what you do. And these PSAs can be provided to both public as well as internally to staff. And next slide. So examples of PSAs are paying for bills online, making reservations at parks, any type of staff accommodation, volunteer opportunities, extending to even council meetings. So those are examples of what the town does. Next slide. So policies and procedures is how we do it. So programs and services is what you do. Policies and procedures are how you do it. And so we look at these in tandem, because maybe your program was not accessible because of a specific policy. And by changing that policy, you make your program accessible. So next slide. So examples of policies and procedures: if you have a service animal policy, an emergency evacuation plan, if you have any type of forms for applications, if you have eligibility requirements, or job application procedures, those are all examples of policies and procedures. Next slide. So now that the self-assessment is completed, the town knows the full picture. We can begin the implementation of the self-assessment. And we like to mention that now that you've completed the self-assessment, You as a town and are mandated to provide an update report to show the public where you are in implementing these plans. And then, we say start this new ADA culture. The town already has a great ADA culture in meeting the needs of the community. And we say we now have a roadmap to make sure that we remain in compliance. Next slide. So the implementation process, just because we are done with the self-assessment doesn't mean that we've stopped. This is not the finish line. This is an ongoing process that requires the town to remain collaborative, within the town itself and other agencies. The town must stay current in regulations and standards as they do change a bit over time. And you do that through continued training. And then again, establish this new culture of accessibility across the entire town. Next slide. So I mentioned earlier that you want to produce a periodic update to the self-assessment. And so these are some of the requirements. The town will identify a person responsible for implementation. That's typically your ADA coordinator. And you will document what facilities have been addressed with expenditures. So you will say we've worked through our list and are making these types of adjustments. Any changes to your program, services, or policies are documented. Any staff accommodations are documented. You also have an ADA grievance procedure. So anything that any grievances that are filed are recorded. You provide training updates as to the type of training the staff has received, and then any schedule and budget updates that need to be made are made as part of this report. Next slide. So the town has facility reports. As we went throughout all of the infrastructure, we documented these findings. So the town has facility reports for all the facilities within that are owned by the town. As Nick mentioned earlier, the ADA does not expect the town to address every single one of these findings. Instead, what the ADA wants is program access so that it's in its entirety, the town is not discriminating against people with disabilities. So for example, if the town holds a program in a facility that has multiple ADA barriers, one option is to address all the physical barriers, or the town can opt to either move that program or duplicate that program at another facility that is accessible. And by doing that, you have met the program accessibility requirement and don't necessarily need to fix every single item on these reports. Next slide. In terms of prioritization, we as shown in the report, we went through a process where we assign criteria and weighted averages to certain criteria, such as how many programs are held in a facility and the type of facility it is, the type of use that is hosted there. And we came up with this prioritization model. So the town now has a place where they can refer to and see how the community and the scheme prioritize elements. The town can move this priority up and down. For example, if it makes more sense to bundle certain facility improvements, then those can be made. But again, just having this prioritization gives the town a starting place for ADA compliance. Next slide. We have also developed a PSA checklist that town staff can now use moving forward. So as new programs come online, they can refer through this checklist and determine is this new program or service accessible, or do we need to modify either the program or the policy to ensure that it does remain accessible. Next slide. So, becoming more inclusive, we urge the town to embrace this responsibility, and this will require top-down support for success. So leadership from council is going to be a requirement. And this will all help the town achieve compliance through proactive involvement and providing support and assistance to the town's ADA coordinator. Next slide. Something that we believe is essential for the town or any community moving forward after we complete one of these studies and plans is training. So training for staff to make sure that staff stays up to speed on any changing ADA requirements. So this is again something that we've provided baseline training and want to encourage the town staff to continue to stay current with all the requirements. Next slide. And there are many options for receiving this type of training. There's plenty of resources. And again, we encourage town staff to continue this training process. Next slide. So by using all of your resources, you can create this community that will help assist the town to maintain compliance from ADA coordinators, liaisons, local community consultants, the Access Board. There are plenty of resources out there that the town can lean on. Next slide. So some next steps, we encourage council to lead this new ADA shift. We encourage the town staff to be intentional. And we believe that you already have made great strides in putting the right people in place in terms of your ADA coordinator and the staff that we have interacted with, and create this new normal, which will be accessible for all. Next slide. So closing thoughts, just something, again, to emphasize that having completed the self-assessment is not the end. Instead, I like to use this quote from Justin Dart, who is seen as the father of the ADA. And his quote is, "But ADA is only the beginning. It is not a solution. Rather, it is an essential foundation on which solutions will be constructed." And this report, through the town's help, can be that foundation that leads to full ADA accessibility for all residents and visitors of the town. Next slide. And with that, we like to open up to any questions. But again, I like to highlight the work that went into it by town staff. We appreciate their interaction with us and openness and coordinating all of these facility inspections.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the council?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to focus on the facility part because one of those slides said the town will be held accountable. So does that mean that since we have knowledge that there's ADA issues, if we don't get them fixed, there's liability attached to that?
I can answer that. So there's liability, council member, whether the town knew it or not. So if there is a barrier to someone with a disability, that is a potential liability. The self-assessment now gives the town the opportunity to say, if somebody does complain and say that there's a facility or a program that's not accessible, the town can now say, we've documented that in our report, and it's our priority, I'm making it up, our priority number 5, we'll take care of it in year 3. And that allows a town the ability to have a plan to address these elements that are not in compliance.
So couple that with, I guess maybe I'm just getting a little bit confused. So does that mean to fix all this stuff, we need a plan and then prioritize items? Or does that mean we're going to wait until somebody says you're an ADA violation and then we're going to bump it up? I guess that's what I'm confused about.
Well, so
because I'm sorry, it's almost like we have this knowledge now of all these items. And when you look at the report, and I'm just focusing on the facilities, it's everything from like a door is X inches, not wide. It's like everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out, what do we do? We have all that information now. Now what do we do with it?
Yeah, so we don't have to take the next step, which would be a transition plan, which would like plan it out per year, but more so we just have our self-assessment document that shows in the community center, these were kind of the issues we found. So potentially, if we have work going on there, we can try and address those types of issues. And then, like I said, we have to do periodic reporting. So we're saying, okay, we've tackled these in this year, and then, we're going to continue to address these as we go.
So there won't be a plan to fix these over the long term. It'll just be as they come up.
I mean, we can create a plan. I mean, we've already been addressing a lot of ADA issues already. I mean, just some examples, at Town Hall, we redid the ADA parking to be compliant, and we recently replaced a bunch of doors at the community center. So we've been actively taking care of issues already. But yeah, so if we wanted to make a more formalized plan, that would probably be the next step. But this just basically gives us the full list that we can work off of.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm just going back to liability because again, I'm just trying to get an understanding on liability. If I hear the consultant, what you're saying is even though we're aware of these we're aware of these items, we still have liability, correct? Even though we're aware of them, if we're not getting them fixed, that's what I'm getting confused on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always the case with ADA issues and violations. What usually and typically happens is a complaint comes in, however, and there's an opportunity to correct those issues that are brought to the attention of the town or that we already know about, right? So there's an opportunity to cure. I don't know if that's the right legal term, but that's, I mean, we have community members that approach us fairly frequently and talk about issues with ADA in town, and they are addressed. As long as we're addressing them on a timely basis, we're typically keeping ourselves out of legal trouble. Is that a foolproof plan? Probably not, but it's worked to this point. And I think what this does, and this is the most thorough document we've ever done as a town, it shows that we're being very proactive as a town and as a community in identifying the things that we need to work on. And I think that goes a long way in showing our commitment to complying with the regulations, the federal regulations.
Okay. Just a couple other questions. On the prioritization list with this final score, high score is good or bad? I couldn't tell.
I think
trying to figure it out.
Score was it was based on a bunch of metrics, but basically it's where we should probably focus first.
Okay, so like here it says community center, then town park. There's a thing here that says mini mall at Park Madera Center.
Yeah, Park Madera Center.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any questions down at this end? That's a no? Was that a no? Or a disgust? Oh. Okay.
Mine will be a regular no.
Okay. Yeah, mine will be a regular no. I sort of had some of the same questions about liability, but what clarifies it for me is that you're liable whether you know it or not. Like if something happens, you're liable. So, okay. So thank you. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We have a hand raised from Roy Wolford and then Patty Stolier.
All right. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Roy.
Okay. Again, good evening. Simple question. In 2022, the town council members voted to make DEI its mission and values and rejected the request to make do not discriminate the mission and values of the town. What say you to that? Jesus?
Is that the end of your comment, Roy?
That is the end, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then we have Patty Stolier.
Good evening. I had a question about adding a new facility as we're going to be having the intergenerational center. Who is the ADA coordinator that oversees that? Is that Chris?
No, that's Bernie Zapay in our community development division.
Okay, cool. All right. So, but I assume that as we're doing each step, it will be monitored that we're doing it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Any new facilities are always checked for ADA compliance.
Perfect. So we'll be the most compliant of anything in Corte Madera. Thank you.
Maybe not more so than town hall.
Do we
don't
have
have any additional hands raised or
Okay.
emailed public comment for this item?
All right. And so do we have any further comment from the council or from?
No, I just want to recognize this was a multi-year effort. A lot of staff time went into this. And I think just going back to showing the commitment to addressing ADA inclusivity, wanting to identify, and this is not simple stuff. I mean, you can see the thoroughness with which the consultant went through this. I will say even experienced architects and builders don't always get this stuff right. So it's really showing a commitment by the town, by our staff. This extends also to our website, things like that we're revamping and knowing that we have to bring that into compliance as well. So it's top to bottom. We had training with our entire staff, I think over several different training sessions. And so I'm proud of the commitment we're showing to do this work. And just want to recognize Public Works who led this, Chris and Nick, RJ before as well, and really our entire staff, Bernie, our ADA coordinator, working with the consultants, just the commitment to seeing this through and bringing it. Happy to be able to bring this to the council today.
I appreciate all the work as well. It's really important. Thank you. So shall we have a motion to approve the additional funds?
I'll move that we adopt resolution 02-2026, approving the town of Corte Madera self-assessment report for ADA and authorize Public Works Director to execute and amend the professional services agreement, increasing the not to exceed amount by $12,320 for a revised total contract amount of $196,190.
Second.
Councilmember Andrews?
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you.
I'd like to just also thank our consultants as well for their support.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Aldora.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we move on to our next item, which is consideration and possible action to authorize. Oh, yeah. Okay. It is still you guys. Okay. To authorize Public Works Director to approve the plans and contract documents, authorize the advertisement of bids, and award a construction contract to the lowest responsive bidder for the base bid amount not to exceed $420,000 plus 10% contingency for the Minky Park Improvements Project number 24006. And I believe we have Chris Good presenting on that.
Yep. Thank you again, Mayor Thomas. So yeah, we'll be reviewing the final plans for the Minky Park Improvement Project and requesting authorization to advertise and bid the project. So this is a significant park improvement project for the town, as Minky Park is located in the center of our downtown district and hosts many events such as Summer Concert Series and Oktoberfest. The project addresses all the deficiencies and includes many of the recommendations in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And staff work closely with the council subcommittee and community foundation to refine the plans and receive feedback on the proposed improvements. And this is going to be a great project to revitalize Minky Park, and it has the potential to be built off of with future projects in the surrounding area. So I'll now pass it off to Nick to provide some more background and details about the project.
All right. Thanks again. So I'm going to go through some of the history and background of the park and what led us to the design that we have at this moment and everything that went into it. And then I'll walk through the improvement design and the landscaping and kind of go through that in a little bit of detail. So Menke Park is a historic neighborhood gathering space in Old Corte Madera Square. I've been humbled to get all the feedback that I have from everyone, all the businesses and all the residents of how important this park is and how it's used and just how it does a lot of jobs. So it's a really interesting project. In a couple of years ago, needs were identified to improve the access to the upper area of the park and update the aging park facilities while also preserving the character and the use that everyone loves so dearly. In 2024, the Community Foundation and the town engaged in an early concept plan with help from a design consultant. In 2025, we brought that concept design to the community and we met at the pavilion to go over the design and we received a lot of really helpful feedback. Later that year, council directed staff to proceed with detailed design and put together the council subcommittee, which we met with frequently throughout the process. Next slide, please.
I also just want to quickly mention this is another great example of the town implementing ADA improvements, in one of our park facilities. So checking that one off the box as well.
So the public outreach and design refinement, as I mentioned, we met with the community and you see some photos from the stickies that were put on the poster board out there during the concept to the next phase of the design. The feedback that we received were surrounded around accessibility, increased seating, increased gathering space. We heard about the landscaping likes and dislikes, and we heard about the desire to keep the character of the park. With that input from the stakeholders in the community, as well as this council subcommittee, we updated the design to address inputs while trying to maintain scope, stay on budget, and always with an eye to constructability. Final design reflects a balance of access, function, and preservation. Next slide, please. So the slide after this is going to be a little bit of a zoomed in view of the improvements, but just to quickly go through, the scope of work includes the new ADA accessible path that goes from the pavilion area, circles around up to the upper area of the park and around to the other side of the sidewalk. We're also replacing staircases. We're replacing the one existing staircase with a new compliant staircase. And then we're replacing a kind of worn-in path with a formal staircase. We're doing grading, some minor grading improvements to be able to install this accessible path. And as such, we're installing a retaining wall, about a 2-foot retaining wall that can double as a seat wall. As I mentioned, we're doing grading, some improvements, surface improvements, improving the drainage and transitions, and then also landscaping improvements, which we'll go into greater detail on, which include trees, plantings, new sod, and all new irrigation throughout the whole park. Additionally, we're replacing I believe it's 5 benches with 6 new benches, and we're keeping the plaques and reinstalling the plaques, the commemorative plaques that are currently out there. And then we're also taking this opportunity to give the pavilion a refresh with a new roof, a fresh coat of paint, and we're modifying one of the rails to make it a little bit more usable for the concert series. Next slide. So I can walk through this in a little bit of detail, and feel free to rush me along if it's a little too much, but the new concrete sidewalk or path starts at the Piccolo Pavilion. If you go to the right, it kind of meanders to be able to keep to the ADA slope. Meanders around and up through the upper portion of the park. Towards the center of the park, the path widens out and there's a retaining wall. It's a little bit wider so folks can sit down and other people can still walk by easily. I also skipped the staircase on the right, which is the one that's replacing the dirt path that goes up to the roadway there. And the path continues counterclockwise to the next staircase, which replaces the non-conforming staircase. And then it continues to wrap around and it meets the existing sidewalk on First Street. Going back a little bit to where the second staircase is, there's a decomposed granite pathway that leads from that concrete pathway back down to the pavilion. As I mentioned, we're also replacing the benches with new benches. And I think that's about it for this slide, so we can move on. The landscaping, which is kind of everyone's favorite subject. We're adding three new trees, the Coast Live Oak, a 24-inch box, a Cucumber Magnolia, 48-inch box, California Sycamore, which is a 48-inch box. And you can see that, we'll see it on the next slide in a little bit more detail. But as part of this project, 7 trees will have to be removed because of grading operations and just conflicting with the new pathway and improvements. The agapanthus, we've heard, were a pretty had a place in everyone's heart. So we made sure to keep all the agapanthus. We're relocating some of them that need to be relocated. And there's about 40 new agapanthus that we're adding to the park. In all the open space that you see around the path and the trees, that hatching is all new grass, new sod. In the back of the park, there is a existing screening hedge. We're keeping that hedge. The plan is to not to keep it as a screening hedge. So we want to gradually remove the existing ivy that's there, while we're gradually introducing the new jasmine. So hopefully the hedge remains intact and continues to screen out the traffic and give the park its kind of privacy feel. Additional landscape palette includes a mix of shrubs, perennials, grasses, and ground covers. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit more of a detailed view of the same landscaping plan. On the right-hand side is the planting list with quantities and sizes of plants. I'm not going to read through them all, but if there's questions on that, we can revisit this slide. So that brings us to our budget and funding. Our engineer's estimate is $381,000. We're also asking for additional funds for construction contingency and consultant support, which brings our total ask to $435,000. The funding is coming from $100,000 is the town capital project fund, $100,000 from the Measure A Parks Fund, $60,000 from the sales tax fund, and a generous donation from the Corte Madera Community Foundation of $150,000. Next slide. So that brings us to tonight. We have the final engineering documents that are mostly ready to bid. So we're asking for authorization to approve the plans, the construction documents, allow us to advertise for bid and to award to the lowest bidder. And we'll be doing construction management in-house with support, landscape architect support for during construction. And next steps. So once we have council authorization, within a couple of weeks, we're going to advertise for bids. We'll award to the lowest responsible bidder, and we're anticipating starting construction in mid-March with duration to last about 4 to 5 months. And with that, we're open to questions.
If I can just for a second, just add to that and just want to thank our council subcommittee for their input during several meetings that we held during the design phase. That's Councilmember Ravazio and Councilmember Andrews, as well as several Corte Madera Community Foundation members as well who provided input into this. Ultimately, the design, a lot of the landscaping that we see here. So appreciate all the input at the process that we went through, work of staff and our community and combining efforts to come up with this plan, which I think ultimately one of the goals was, and since we have our Sunday concert organizer here, was also to just create a better environment to have, view some of those concerts, provide more seating, and create a more of a welcoming environment for all users of the park as well.
All right, thank you. And do we have any questions from the dais? We'll start this way this time. There you go.
Yeah, and this is not sort of directly in your wheelhouse, but given this construction schedule, we're either going to have to cancel the concerts, move them somewhere, and where do we stand in terms of sort of pre-planning for that?
Well, Adam may know better than me, but I believe they're already evaluating Town Park as an alternative for this year.
That's correct.
Yes. So I know Peter and Bob are working with Tim Berry and trying to find a nice location. Frankly, I think it's a good opportunity for the town and for Tim to sort of explore potential options in Town Park that may work for that type of event for music. And so I'm excited actually to see it on a temporary basis during construction, which was unavoidable, move down there and have a, hopefully a great summer concert series at Town Park this year.
Or we could put up a movie screen and show kids shows on Saturday nights or something weird.
Well, and we have, and I know there have been events in the past where, in fact, we've had movie nights that started with a band in Town Park and then they went into a movie night. So it's, there's a lot of possibilities and I think can be exciting.
Just a couple questions. First, beautiful project and very grateful to the foundation for the contribution towards this. Just a couple questions. One, we heard public comment earlier tonight from one of the business owners in the area asking for some sort of minor signage. This seems like potentially a great opportunity to incorporate something like that. Is that something that we could do?
We're evaluating that separately. And certainly, I know Amy Lyle's been working with some of the property owners there or the business owners. And I think we're just starting to identify locations. There's been a request for the signage for the businesses, but also street sign at the corner of Montecito and First. So yes, it's something that has become part of the conversation. Okay. Didn't want to incorporate it here, but we'll continue that conversation, I'm sure, with the work plan as well.
Okay, well, I'm glad that that's part of the conversation because it feels very appropriate to this conversation. My other question was glad to see that there's a good amount of native planting in the landscaping plan. I really appreciate that. I guess my question with these things is always, can we push it further? And I think a sort of a related question there, have we thought about approaching, for example, like Refugia Marin, which is a local nonprofit that did our fantastic native pollinator garden that we have in Town Park next to Neil Cummins. I believe they're doing one over at Cove Park. This seems like a potentially good opportunity to have them come in and maybe even do some of the landscape design work and maybe take that off our scope. So have there been any conversations around that?
Not with this project. We haven't spoken with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. Is there any lighting on the paths or anything like that that comes into play?
I don't believe so.
Just out of curiosity? No?
As part of this improvement project, we're not adding any lighting, and I don't believe there's any lighting out there currently.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So my initial question was about the concert series, but I do know that Tim's working on it and convinced that we can do a nice presentation in Town Park. I guess my big question, first of all, I really appreciate, Nick, all your work on this. I can attest that it was very open and great listening. And I know I'm not really supposed to be commenting yet, but asking questions. So I'm just wondering, how does this project fit into the bigger context? When we did reach out to the community, the number one question is, when are we going to get a restroom up here? More practicality. Is this part of a bigger plan for moving forward, or are you guys just focused on this particular thing?
Well, I think for this project in particular, we're focused strictly on the park. But I know in the park and rec master plan, they were looking at kind of bigger picture parking lot as well as across the street, across Montecito. So definitely, this could be phase one, and then, additional phases could come later to make improvements further out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I have a question sort of in another direction. So the funding is coming from the Town Capital Projects Fund and a sales tax fund. And what I was wondering is that if we don't receive monies from the state as a result of our disaster declaration for the corporation yard, where would the money to make those repairs, where would that come from?
So we do have money in Town Capital Projects Fund. We do have also, and we'll talk about this on Friday, sort of the current pace at which we're spending on the sales tax fund. There will be monies available to pay for more immediate projects, such as the corporation yard. Obviously, that comes at the expense of having to then supplement that in later years to continue to accomplish the projects. And again, we'll get into this on Friday. But I think the short answer is we'd probably use the Town Capital Projects Fund, which has more than $1 million in it right now for projects.
Okay, yeah, I'm just thinking that then if we do this too, we've spent it down quite a bit. So that's.
Well, we did budget. This is not, so all the 410,000 was budgeted in the 25-26 year. So it was essentially proposed to be budgeted. It's already been essentially assigned and reserved for that purpose. And then obviously we'll have to have the conversation about the corporation yard and can fill you in on sort of how we propose to pay for those costs, which are coming quickly.
Okay. That was really my big question always. How do you pay for this? And because it is beautiful, and from the very first renderings, I thought it was really a really great design, and you all have, even made it even better since the last time we saw it. So thank you. All right. Do we have? Yeah, I know, but I'm just wondering, did we get everybody here? Okay,
I'm done.
great. So, you're done?
Questions?
Okay, great. So, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do. We have a hand raised from Patty Stolier.
Thank you. I had two questions. One is, I remember in looking at the ADA self-assessment, there was a comment that the handrail was only on one side of a staircase. So are there going to be handrails on both sides of the staircases? And will there be any railing going on areas that have a slope to them? And I'm really disappointed that there won't be any lighting because that seems like a real safety hazard for older people. Okay. Oh, I also wondered if the courtyard wasn't covered by insurance. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have a hand raised from Bob Bundy.
This is Bob Bundy, and on behalf of the Corte Madera Community Foundation, we had been looking at the park and using it for the concerts. We saw some of the ADA issues with it. We saw some of the way that it got used and access wasn't available for some people. And I think that this proposal that's going out to bid is something that's going to make this park the great gem, in the heart of our town for the next century. So I really appreciate Adam, Chris, engineering, Nick, for getting on this, moving on this, and getting it out to bid. I will comment that we talked about lighting early on at the Community Foundation, early planning on this. And since the park is not supposed to be used after dark, it just didn't seem to make sense to put lighting in that would encourage the use of the park after dark if that's not the intention of the town. Thank you.
We don't have any additional hands raised from attendees online or emailed public comment for this item.
Okay, so do we have any closing comments from?
I have two comments and then I can make the motion. And one, I want to thank the Community Foundation and staff. I think it's great when one of our community partners, you're investing in a project, but you're also investing in the community. So I just think it's great. I think Age Friendly is doing the same thing with the Intergenerational Center. But again, I just want to thank the Community Foundation for stepping up. And just one thing, I would just be mindful during construction about parking spaces up there. Couple that with the food truck. We're going to have a food truck that's potentially taking up 3 or 4 parking spaces. If we get construction trucks up there or whatever equipment, they're going to be taking up parking spaces. Just be mindful of that with the businesses up there. And please just make sure you give them enough notice so that they're aware of construction that's going on. And with that, if it's okay, I can go ahead and make the motion to authorize the Director of Public Works to approve the plans and contract documents, advertise for bids, and award a construction contract. Oh, sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Finish your motion. I'll just
He wants to.
You want me to finish it? And I forgot where was that. An award, sorry, I was on a roll. An awarded construction contract, lowest responsible and responsive bidder for the bid base amount not to exceed 420,000 plus 10% contingency for Mickey Park improvements project number 24006. Sorry, Eli.
No, all good. So I will second that, but I also wanted to say, first of all, ditto Fred's comments of gratitude to the foundation again. This is fantastic. But second, just to follow up on my question, I think that when we do these types of projects, when we do any kind of landscaping on public property, I think there's a real opportunity for synergy, with local nonprofits that are working on ecosystem restoration, right? I think that that's super important. I think you look at the success of the project at Town Park. I mean, that brings a lot of joy to the community, and it beautifies our parks. And I think that that's exactly what we're trying to do with a project like we've got going here at Mankey Park. And more to the point, my understanding is that organizations like Refugia will actually do some of the landscaping design, right? They'll pick the species for you. They may even procure the plants. So my point is, if there could be a savings to taxpayers in addition to all these other benefits by bringing in local nonprofits that are already working on these types of things. So I'd really appreciate if we could just have the conversation with them and see if there's an opportunity to bring them in here, see if they want to bring in some plants for us. And get them involved on this project. And I would also just ask if going forward, if we could just try and make that, part of our standard protocol on these types of projects. I think that would be a really good idea.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if I could
Thank you.
just say, being on the committee, I'd like to say that we did do those conversations
Great.
with Dana Swisher at Refugia, and the selection of many of the plants was based on their being native and good for the pollinators. Glenda Corning
Exactly,
was
yeah.
also on the committee, who is a master gardener, and if you've ever seen her gardens, and she was very involved in plant selection. So I believe that in an unofficial way, all of the things that you're asking for have already been
That's
done.
great. And like I said, I see that their work shows here in the landscaping plan as proposed. I just want to make sure that we've got, kind of a best practice going forward with these types of projects.
My only concern is that our planting schedule is so ambitious that we're putting plants in places where people now sit. And that could be a concern moving forward, but we'll deal with that if the time comes. And I think there's a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
And I'll second it.
I think it was,
Oh, it was already seconded.
yes. Councilmember Andrews,
I'm voting yes.
Councilmember Beckman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Casissa.
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is consideration and possible action to authorize the town manager to enter into an agreement with legal services with Redwood Public Law LLP. And our report will be, I believe, from Town Manager Adam Wolf.
Thank you, Mayor and council members.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
So in October of 2025, sitting to my left, Amy Ackerman, who's an employee of Rennie Public Law Group. As you all know, Amy has been the town attorney since October. It was 2020. I don't know the exact date. I think it was October. Wow. But Amy obviously announced that she would be retiring at the end of the year. Appreciate it now that we're at January 20th that you're still here, but congratulations, of course, to Amy on that announcement and what's next. Since that time of the announcement, over the course of the next several meetings, the town council in closed session participated in a thorough and deliberative interview process with prospective town attorneys. At the December 16th meeting, the town council directed the town manager to negotiate an agreement with Redwood Public Law LLP. The council reviewed a draft legal services agreement with Redwood Public Law and conducted additional interview at the January 6th meeting. And after further deliberation, there was no objection to proceeding with the consideration of the legal services agreement with Redwood Public Law before you tonight. The draft legal services agreement is included as attachment 1 to your staff report this evening, and it outlines the proposed scope of services, rate structures, and other contract provisions typical of employment agreements for town attorney. It has been reviewed by Amy Ackerman, also our insurance managers, as to completeness and to ensure it meets town standards. Richard P.O. Rhoda, an experienced public law attorney and founding partner of Redwood Law Group, would serve as the town attorney and attend all town council meetings. And Erica Gonzalez, who's here this evening, a senior associate, would serve as assistant town attorney and attend planning commission meetings. Your options this evening would be to authorize the town manager to execute the attached agreement for legal services with Redwood Public Law LLP as presented, authorized to execute the agreement with modifications as directed by council, or to take no action, continue the item, and provide further direction to staff.
And if I could interject here, for the record, I do not agree with the characterization that the council reached a consensus or did not object after the January 6th closed session. There was no affirmative direction or vote at that time. And on that basis, I move that we continue this item to a date certain so that the council can fairly complete its evaluation and correct the record before approving a contract.
Excuse me, did that comment come at an appropriate point in this?
I think it's up to, it's sure. I mean, it's a fellow council member.
Okay, what I would like to do.
Do it earlier rather than later.
Okay, yeah. What I would like to do then is, rather than move something at this point, we'll go right to, council questions. Okay, so, do we have any questions?
Just a quick question, just clarifies to get out there, it does include SD2, correct? Thanks.
Thank you. And I should have mentioned, yes, there was, we have a printed copy of a revised staff report that also makes sure that the legal agreement includes SD2 and that this covers legal services for that subsidiary body as well.
Okay, and then how would the transition period work?
Good question. We are still, I think Amy has been gracious about offering, obviously, to hand off as well as Ann Danforth as needed. We haven't worked out any specifics on that, though.
Okay, thanks.
Go right ahead.
So if we don't vote on it tonight, what's the next step and when will the next step be?
Well, so there would be a continuation. I would recommend if we wanted to do that, we would schedule another closed session and it could be in a special meeting. The challenge we're going to have is that Amy is already
she's making plans for her life.
Yes, she is retiring. So we have not discussed exactly how we would have town's attorney services in the interim while we're discussing an additional decision.
Amy Ackerman, town attorney, still. I think if council isn't going to move forward tonight, council would have to, by majority agreement, give some direction to staff as to how they want to proceed. Renee Public Law Group would never abandon a client before they had retained new counsel. So we would continue to provide you with legal services. I can't guarantee it will be me continuing to provide you with legal services because I have international travel planned in February, but we would, either Ann or Andrew would likely cover until council made its decision. Just for the record, I did announce my retirement in September. It's been about 4 months. So I think I would, from a personal point of view, encourage resolution of this issue.
Thank you.
Could we have an executive meeting sometime on Friday?
Okay. Well, I think, as my mother used to put it, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We have not taken any votes. We haven't taken any motions yet. So until we do that, once we do that, we can decide if any of this is necessary. Yes.
I did make a motion.
Yeah, I was.
Yes, well, yeah, but what I wanted was for people to get their questions out, because usually we do questions and then we do statements, we do comments.
This is rare that I would have an objection to the wording of a staff report. So I understand that it's a unique circumstance and I appreciate the consideration.
Mhm. Okay, so once again, any other questions? All right, so then since the motion is on the floor, then
Mayor, would you like to take public comment?
Oh, yes, let's get public comment first. We definitely got off our normal, you know how I love process? That's why.
Well, this is
Okay.
about process.
So what I would like is there any public comment either in the room or online?
We don't have any hands raised from attendees online. We did receive an emailed public comment that I will read into the record.
Okay.
Because it was received after we started the meeting. It's not going to take me 3 minutes, so I'm not
Okay.
going to use the timer. It's from Jonna Hale, and the comment says, I want to express my strong support for the selection of Sloan Bailey as a town of Corte Madera's provider of legal services. Sloan is a longtime resident of Corte Madera and has served in a wide variety of public service positions in our town over the years. I understand he is willing and ready to take on the responsibility for providing Corte Madera's legal services, and I strongly urge the members of the town council and the town manager to select Sloan Bailey as their choice for this important position. Jonna Hale. And then we have, that was only emailed public comment we received via email, and we have a hand raised from Patty Stolier.
All right.
Well, I did not know that Sloan Bailey was an applicant for this position. I can't imagine anybody that would be better, having served as the mayor and council member for a long time, and the passion that he feels about the town. He was there during the centennial time, and it was a wonderful time, and we definitely appreciated his leadership. So I would love to see Sloan be appointed for the new legal counsel. Thank you.
All right then. So
It looks like we have another hand raised from Bob Bundy.
Yes, since Sloan Bailey's name has been raised, knowing his background with the town and talking to him over the years about his law practice, which is a very complicated commercial industrial default type of practice. It's not public law, but he's not doing chasing ambulances and doing divorces. He really is an extremely competent lawyer. He had even stepped up when the Lions Club were trying to have some issues with the ABC board as to their continuing need to make us jump through hoops and send more money in for different types of programs. And he was very helpful for that. So looking at Sloan as somebody that really has lived in the town, knows the town, and is willing to, again, give back to the town at this point in his life, I think he should be strongly considered. Thank you.
There are no additional hands raised.
all right then. So shall we call the vote now?
Well, there wasn't a second on the motion. I believe we need
Oh.
a second. And if there is no second, my understanding is that the motion dies. Is that correct?
Okay.
The motion was to continue the item to a future meeting or to continue the item, correct?
If there's no second, I'm happy to let it go. I just wanted to be on the record that the staff report was, and no criticism of staff or the other legal counsel intended. I just think it's really important that we have accurate staff reports.
Well, then I will show as well go on the record that my recollection is that at the last meeting, we did say to move forward with creating, with voting on it this night and entering into the contract. And I don't imagine that, I think everyone knows that that would not have been done if the council had not agreed to it. So that's my.
Wait, Jim, could you please speak on this issue? What happened at the end of the last meeting?
Okay, you know what? We're not going to go back and forth on this. Do we have a second?
I don't think you have the right to shut down this conversation right now.
No, but I'm saying this can't.
The problem is
he was
we're
going on the
getting
record and
into
you're going on the
executive
record.
session stuff,
It's
then we aren't
confidential,
supposed
so
to
we
talk
can't, we're
about
not
that
supposed to talk
publicly.
about it.
Right.
So how can we?
So if I may, the chair, the mayor does preside over the meetings, and the rule gives the council procedures. It does say that the mayor is the presiding officer. I understand there are some discrepancies about what occurred in the closed session. However, we have an item on the agenda. We have a motion to continue that item. I have not heard a second. If there's no second, then the motion fails. We still have the item on the agenda for approval of the agreement. So I think I did not hear a second, but the mayor might want to call again to ask if there's a second.
I'll do it this way. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement for legal services. Public law.
She's asked Rosa to call for a second if there's a second.
We still have a motion on the floor and we just need
Yeah, we
clarification
have
if
a motion.
anyone's seconding
Right,
that.
and that's all we want to know.
That's the
Is anyone seconding?
There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That's what we asked.
Okay.
Okay.
Him just
So
second.
the motion was seconded and I will be calling the vote on that motion.
If we could restate the motion for the record.
Yeah, I actually wrote it out. I move that we continue this item to a date certain so that the council can complete its evaluation and correct the record before approving a contract. Simple procedure.
Thank you. And you're still seconding that motion, Councilmember Andrews?
Mhm.
You're still seconding that motion now that she's said
I'm
it?
not-
Now that she stated what the whole motion is, are you?
Her
supposed-
motion.
Okay.
Okay, no, I'm not seconding hers. Fred
Okay.
moved
Okay, so I just
moved the
understand-
agenda item and I seconded it.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion to continue did not have a second, so we move on to Councilmember Casissa's motion to approve the agreement with Redwood Public Law. I believe we had a second from Councilmember Andrews.
Councilmember Andrews?
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio?
No.
Vice Mayor Casissa?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
All right.
Thank you all for allowing that. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right, let me get. This always helps. All right, so our next item is 6D. Discussion and possible action by the mayor to appoint one council member and two planning commissioners to serve on the town's building code appeals board. Oh, okay, you'll be doing.
Thank you, Mayor Thomas. I'm going to be presenting this item. On June 2021, Council adopted ordinance number 1007, and that ordinance established a uniform administrative citation process and also created a multi-member board or a building code appeals board as is required by the state building code. While some appeals can be heard by an individual hearing officer, the Corte Madera Municipal Code states that violations related to building, plumbing, electrical, or other similar zoning issues are to be heard by the Building Code Appeals Board. Although the appeals process was codified back in 2021, we never established a Building Code Appeals Board because no appeals to any issued citations had ever been filed with the town. Recently, we received a request for a hearing to contest an issued administrative citation that's associated with building code violations and thereby requiring the need to formally appoint the three members that are needed to the Building Code Appeals Board so that the appeal matter can be scheduled for a hearing. As for membership for this necessary board, it consists of three members. One is to be from the town council and two from the planning commission. They must be qualified, The 3 members must be qualified by experience and training on matters pertaining to building construction, and they serve at the pleasure of the town council. Amy Lyle, our community development director, has also serves as a staff liaison to the planning commission, and she's already been in contact with Peter Chase and Dan Kenny, who's actually here today. They're the chair and vice chair of the planning commission, and they have confirmed their willingness to serve on the board. So the next step is for the mayor to appoint a member of the council to be that 3rd member that we need. And again, for expertise, we're looking for a member that has experience in training on matters pertaining to building and construction to fill that seat. Appointment at this time will also ensure that the council is procedurally prepared for any future building-related appeals in a timely and consistent manner. And then moving forward, this body, once it's formed, it'll be part of the annual appointment process. I'll make sure to have it on the list so that we can make the proper appointments every year or review who's on it in case council wants to make changes when they reorganize.
Thank you.
And that's all. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Not a question, but just a quick comment. I'll disqualify myself because I don't have construction or building experience.
Right.
Except for hanging pictures up.
So I will, I know that the mayor doesn't usually speak until the end, but since this appointment specifically calls for a board member with knowledge of experience and experience on matters pertaining to building construction, therefore I asked the trained architect sitting next to me if he would be willing to take this on as another responsibility. He's a very, very busy person. And Councilman Beckman agreed that he would try to find the time to do so. So if there is no objection to that from the rest of the council, may I?
We do have to still take public comment.
Yes.
And
I'll
we
let them
didn't
know.
receive any via email.
Okay.
And there are no hands raised from our attendees online.
Okay. And do we have anyone in the room who would like to comment on this? Okay. And it sounds like there are no comments from the dais itself. All right. Thank you. You are appointed.
My pleasure.
Appointed and anointed. Go forth and be awesome. Okay.
Mayor Thomas, for formality, because we also have 2 planning commissioners on, if we could just get a vote to appoint them as well to this board. That's Dan Kenny and Peter Chase.
Okay, so we take an actual vote for that, or do I just?
Yeah, I think
Appoint them.
we
just
should.
appoint, vote? Okay.
I'll make the motion to appoint the 2 as noted by our town clerk.
Okay, Councilmember Andrews? Councilmember Beckman?
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa?
Yes.
Mayor Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
All right. And we have, let's see, 60. There was that, and we have one, okay. Now we're on to council and manager reports. Do we have something else? Oh, I'm sorry. We do have one more item. For some reason, my papers are mixed up. So the next item has to do with the
Work plan.
the work plan, strategic plan meeting that we have on Friday. And that'll be spoken to by our town manager.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Thomas and council members. So this is really a preview item. There's no action. We're not looking for a discussion this evening on the actual work plan. We're obviously going to have a full day on Friday to go over the draft 2026 work plan, but we did want to get you the materials in advance so you could see the structure. Essentially, I thought last year's strategic planning workshop and priority setting meeting was very successful. I think we had a good meeting. We were able to set a very solid work plan in one session, which we haven't always done. And so I think really just trying to keep If it's not broken, let's do it the same as next time. There'll be an opportunity at the beginning for all the council members to again provide their statements of priorities. We'll probably go quickly through the categories because, again, this is a seasoned group who's been through this, and try to save more time for the actual items to discuss. So the draft agendas in your packet, we still have a little bit of time if we need to make changes to that. If there are any comments about the structure of the meeting, this would be the opportunity to sort of talk about that and let staff know. There is as well the draft, the staff report has been, have we published the staff report as well? So it is already out. The staff report for Friday's meeting has been published. We're obviously going to be here in this room. Hopefully you've got your orders for lunch in as well. Again, we'll do an overview of the financial picture, both operating and capital. I think we are going to actually, one of the things I will bring to that conversation with Chris, we've talked about having a conversation, obviously with the recent flooding, how to approach the Marina Village berm project. That will be something that we'll be discussing on Friday. Again, we're saving the meeting time after lunch to really dig into other topics of conversation that the council really wants to spend more time on. Again, and at that meeting, we aren't making decisions at the workshop on Friday, but there will be sort of a opportunity for the council to say, look, I want to please come back to us with information regarding X or Y or Z or, and so on. And so last thing I'll just say, again, it's an opportunity for staff to have a very honest and frank conversation with all of you about where they see their work going in the coming year, and an opportunity for have that more personal and formal dialogue with you, which I think is always a great opportunity and experience. So answer any questions you have.
Well, one issue I'm going to raise is what's going on with sales tax and projecting out, I know when we had initially passed it, we were talking maybe 3 million a year in override money, okay? But we've been taking in 4 million. Now it's so I guess
great. Well,
that's some granularity we'll probably want.
Great.
So anyway.
One thing I forgot to mention that we did differently this year was we also invited the public over, starting in mid-December and then ending January 9th to also, hey, provide some additional public feedback on work plan items you'd like to see. And so that was an attachment 2 to the staff report. We included Lorena sort of coordinated and put them all together into a little bit of a table. You heard some of them tonight come about Tanner Steps. There were some other comments about short-term rentals, Lucky Drive, even things as detailed as like the stone wall across the street from Town Hall, traffic calming measures, and so on. And so I think it's a good opportunity, one, for the public to weigh in and just have a say in this year's work plan. And also just, while we certainly can't get to all these and probably won't, but have those percolate and sort of get us starting to think about some that may be small things that we can pull into other projects, as we've talked about tonight, things like the sign, and as we're starting to think through other parts of town that we're working on integrating some of these ideas.
I have a question. I really appreciate the change that was made a few years back regarding getting formal input from Parks and Recreation, Planning, BPAC, and so forth. I think that's been a really nice way to let our committees and commissions know that their thoughts are wanted and cared about. Are they going to be broken out in some way? So here's what Parks and Rec would like to see, and here's, or is there a way to make that happen?
Yeah, so I think when each of our department heads have their opportunity to present they're obviously the staff liaisons to these committees. So they'll talk through each of the comments and the priorities that each of the commissions or committees or boards that they staff, what their feedback was. And so that will be
So each one has a staff member. So BPAC would go through Public Works, Sales Tax Advisory goes through Finance, I guess. I mean,
yeah, so
I just want to make sure they're all accounted
I will
for.
say not every, so
Yeah.
not every committee or so sales tax was not consulted on sort of a work plan. They're there as an oversight.
Right,
to make
right. Okay.
for example. And we did outline that in the staff report as well. So you have an advance copy of sort of what the feedback was in that process.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a couple questions. One is, how did new items get on here?
How did they get on here? So a lot of them either come from, well, I will say most of them, and it's outlined in the staff report, are either carryover from last year. A lot of them come from especially on the capital side, will come from the 5-year capital projects list and the priorities from the master plans. And so those have been included, some of which are new and some of which are carried over. Others are, for example, at our strategic, our management retreat, when we had our staff management retreat, and one of the things that came out of that was working on essentially a communication strategy and how to communicate out on the work that we're doing to both council and the public in a better way. That was something that admin staff, the team, we wanted to make sure we put on, things like that. Obviously, there's an evaluation process between department heads. Again, this is their opportunity. If there's something new that is a gap, they're going to identify that and put this on the list, and they can explain that during the meeting on Friday as well.
Were council members given the opportunity to add to this list?
Well, that's exactly what we'll be doing at this meeting.
Okay. So we wouldn't provide that opportunity ahead of time. Okay, fine. And the other question is, do you have separate goals for your departments and for your directors?
We have lots of goals that are developed through, for example, housing element sets out a lot of goals and policy objectives and whatnot. Other plans set out goals and objectives. So I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to.
I mean, are there more specific goals, again, for departments or for directors? Because I remember 3 years ago in the budget, there was goals for each department. And all of a sudden, I know that kind of went away. So I didn't know if you set up, again, goals.
Well, these are sort of the measuring stick. These are the metrics. So when we put something on the work plan, and this again is in addition to all the day-to-day work that's being done, but these are the goals that staff is setting out with council's input, with the public's input of what we want to accomplish in that year. So I think this is trying to get at that specific goals for this calendar year of what we're trying to accomplish.
Any other questions? All right. So do we take public comment on this too?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have any hands raised?
We do have a hand raised from Roy Wolford. I
Okay.
will say that there were some comments that we are still collecting public comment for the strategic planning session, and I'll be putting those together and making sure council has them. I know that there's some that are circulating about like outdoor facility equipment or something like that, that Patty Stolier's collecting. So all of those will be sent to council, and members of the public can still submit their comments via email, and there's a cutoff time, and then anyone else who wants to speak will just come to the meeting in person as is stated in the agenda.
Thank you.
For this public comment period, we have Roy Wolford. Roy, go ahead.
Again, want to make sure Adam has enough work to do in the coming year. So Adam, virtually all these items that I'm going to speak to, questions and comments are directed for you. Will there be a reprioritization of action items of the work plan in view of the recent significant flooding. Next question, similar item is, will there be an all hands on deck approach for flood mitigation? Includes flood mitigation in areas of the town that are built on bay mud and have been subjected to settlement up to 7 feet. Could that be a priority one item? It would include number 9, Marina Village. Will there be signs posted for the flood recovery workshop at Cove School on the 28th at all 3 entrances to Mariner Cove and entrance to Marina Village? I'd left you a phone message on that on Monday, I think. I'm sure you were working on Monday too. Okay. Next item, traffic signal synchronization and efficiency flow. San Anselmo has used AI hub at the hub of Sir Francis Drake and all the other interconnecting streets, and apparently it's really eliminated a lot of traffic backups, and that is to improve the traffic flow and reduce CO2 emissions for idling engines. So I think that's something the climate change folks may want to grab onto. I had left a message on that several months ago. In addition, I can share information I've collected using an AI tool, Microsoft's Copilot, and I'm really impressed with the AI tool. It comes back with some incredible answers. It's like having a conversation with someone that's very knowledgeable but doesn't have all the answers, so you have to be able to stand up to it. Adam, who can I work with on that item? So if you send me an email, suggest that, I don't know, the council, and I don't know if it would be the Climate Change Committee, publish EV warnings about owning and operating EVs in flood-prone areas. And I can share some information on AI that I've collected on that. Who do I work with there? What is the town doing to protect town-owned and leased EV vehicles from floodwaters? So here's just a little bit of what can go on. Tesla recommends that after submersion, these guidance be followed. Treat the vehicle as if it has been in a collision. Do not drive it. Tow it to a safe distance, 50 feet from structures and vehicles. Have it inspected by Tesla. Reduce the state of
Excuse me, your
charge.
time has
before the
expired.
predicted flood. Hey, you gave other people a little bit of extra time. How about this? Please?
A few seconds more.
Okay, thank you. Reduce the state of charge before predicted floods to reduce energy availability and battery and compromise. And then the total repair cost is staggering. Minimum is up to $12,000. Moderate's 12,000 to 25. Significant exposure, battery and stuff, 25 to 45,000. And if battery pack is compromised,
Could you send
the vehicle's
those
almost always
comments to
full.
us, please?
You gave
Because
some people up to
easier
2
for-
minutes, man, and I
It'll
was
be
at
easier
47.
for us to remember because these are a lot of details, and we won't remember them. It would be great to get them in writing.
You got it, but you could also listen to the playback too. That's what I do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Roy. Okay, do we have any others?
No other hands raised from attendees online.
Oh, we have one in-house. Okay, all right.
Me. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for your attention and listening to the students this evening. And for those of you that took the time
Do you have a comment on this item?
yes, I do.
Okay, great.
To take the time to meet with me. I just want to reemphasize that the students and many other community members that I've spoken with when I've been doing field work are eager to see the town move forward to pass a strong ordinance.
Excuse me, I was wondering if you had a comment on the work plan.
Yeah, and
okay.
there is an item 12 on the work plan that is being considered as part of the draft work
Okay.
plan. So I want to just urge the council to retain that that item 12, which suggests that the town will consider an ordinance regulating the retail sales of tobacco products, either following the county's model ordinance or considering more stringent regulation, and that we very much appreciate that the town has many agenda items and pressing matters, and that we urge the town not to sideline this particular matter and push it down on the priorities to defer it to next year or whenever. And that's particularly because of the momentum that we are fast building across Marin County, with the Tiburon and Ross passing their ordinances, as well as the Board of Supervisors, and now Fairfax. And it's critical. It's a critical moment in time to build on this momentum, particularly because it's since 1964 that the Surgeon General issued the first report on tobacco. There have been 34 reports since then that have been issued. The time has come for our community to do the right thing. Our smoking prevalence rates have been driven down thanks largely to the decisions of this council on passing many ordinances over the years to below 10%, which translates into about 600 people who are still smoking in Corte Madera. And they deserve our support to encourage them to quit, while at the same time preventing young people from taking up the use of these products and being victims of the tobacco industry. And all of the matters that you've discussed tonight are tied to tobacco, including the industry's contribution to climate change, which contributes to sea level rise, and the wildfire risk that we face here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So this item was purely for discussion. So we don't have any votes to take, but if anyone has anyone on the dais has any more remarks?
Almost there.
Well, we're almost there. We now are at the town council and managers' reports. So.
Okay, so I'm going to start with obviously several flood updates for the council and any community members who may be listening. We've been trying to put a lot of messaging out there. Friday newsletter, again, had a lot of good information. I will, we're with Chris here as well, we continue to get more information just about the extent of the damage to the corporation yard, which is obviously our biggest priority right now. And Chris and Wes and the team have been on this to try to figure out how to remediate a lot of the damage with the water getting into the walls. I think, let me pull up, there's a significant cost that we're expecting at this point, and we're still sort of preliminary, but we've started to get some quotes from some contractors regarding how the cost of just replacing the damaged materials, taking out the equipment, remediating. There were asbestos in the walls there, so we're going to have to remediate that as well. So starting on, I think on January 23rd, end of this week, we actually have our temporary trailer arriving. There's going to be needing to, it will actually fit within our corporation yard itself at the end of our as you go in towards the end, towards actually 240, the parking lot at 240 Tamil Vista Boulevard, right by that fence. That's where it will go. We're going to need to put in electrical and bring electrical to the temporary trailer. We have to take all of the items of furniture, shelving, equipment out of the main corporation yard building and facility there, which includes some of the offices and the bathroom, the training room as well. And those are going to go into storage containers at the front parking lot. And we've worked with the owner of 240 Tamil Vista. As you know, they're waiting to get financing. Going to use that for staff parking at this time and try to create an access between the two properties that will allow for a great temporary parking situation. So really just thank the property owner for working with us, supporting us in that. We expect this trailer to be the work to continue for about 3 months. Chris, is that, you gonna give me the nod? Again, approximately, maybe 3 to 4 months, but it will involve, I think all the costs, what we're talking about is about $255,000 for courtyard restoration. That includes the demolition, asbestos abatement, moving, storage, and cleaning, rebuilding. So they're going to go up about 4 feet on all the walls, replace all the wall material, and then replace that with new wall material, and then replacing some of the furniture and appliances, which were damaged as well. Obviously, look, this is something that we're going to have to plan better for moving forward and figuring out how to, what strategies we can put in place to sort of figure out how to protect the facility from tidal flooding in the future. And even though this was a record tide, but we should be expecting this, in the future. We haven't even started thinking about longer term options, but I think we're just still really at the very short term and maybe a little past short term about how to get through this. And so a lot of work being done there. I just want to, Chris and his team, as well as Chris Petlock, are working with Cal OES right now on our initial damage assessments. We are participating in an after action report with Office of Emergency Management with the county. I think that's scheduled for next Tuesday. We, as I think Roy mentioned, and we have a special flood board meeting coming up on January 28th, next Wednesday, which is going to be held out at Cove School. Agenda will be posted pretty soon, but it's really going to be one listening session, trying to attract as much information or extract as much information as we can from the community about what worked, what could be done better preparedness efforts, and also trying to accumulate a lot of the damage estimates that occurred out in at least the Bayside neighborhoods. In addition, we're obviously going to rehash and go over a lot of the work that we've done about protecting the strategies to protect those neighborhoods from flooding, in particular Marina Village, and the berm project there and the next steps with that project. The debris boxes have been out there. I did want to note that we're likely going to remove those February 2nd. So if there's still more flood damaged property folks need to get rid of, that's the date we're going to remove them. They will become a attractive sort of location for others to start using them to dump materials. We don't want that. Want it specifically to be for those who are affected by the flooding. And then our building department, building division, and some of our planners were out at a pop-up sort of meeting at Cove School or out at the parking lot today, just to go to our community who may be in need of building services, try to identify how significant. Again, we're trying to ascertain the extent of the damage to property and wanted to be out there and answer any questions we could for the community. I don't think we had a great turnout today, but we'll be out there again, I think let me see if I can have the dates. think it was on Thursday, I want to say. In any case, and I think there's one day next week as well. So a lot going on there, obviously. Again, this will be a topic for Friday as well that we want to come back to, as it may require us to prioritize some of the things we had in our draft work plan that we put out recently. And then I didn't want to presume we were making any changes to our town attorney just yet, but I did want to acknowledge at this time, I think it's an appropriate time now, all the great years of service that Amy has provided the town. We have a little gift for her here. We've become very, we'd like to provide these little glass cubes that provide some recognition here with the town logo and just recognizing her years of service. Really, I think on a personal note, well, I will say, not just for myself, but all town staff, I think really appreciated working with you, Amy. You provided such great advice at all times, such clear, I think, direct direction on approach to tackling some really sticky situations at times. Most importantly, you kept us out of trouble, I think, as we know. I think we're just always a great resource and very responsive to all of our needs. And that goes for myself, all of our town staff. Just really enjoyed working with you. And I will say personally, you've helped me a tremendous deal just as a new town manager, having somebody to lean on and call and just hash things out at times. I've really appreciated that. So thank you. All the best of luck. Congratulations to you. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. I think I'm gonna keep you to some of that transition work before you leave. And of course, we'd love to have you back for lunch or something like that as well. So
Definitely. Thank you so much.
I know it's really late, so I'm going to keep this really brief. I just want to say, I've had a really rewarding and long career in public service, and mostly working in or with local governments. And capping off that career at Corte Madera has really been terrific. When I see the dysfunction in federal government, it reiterates my belief in local government. Local government gets things done. It's nonpartisan. I think most community members share the same values of what they're looking for in their local government. And I think Corte Madera has really been a model of this. I thank every staff member I've worked with. The staff is so hardworking. They're smart, and they're really deeply caring about this community and the work that they do for the community. I've had the pleasure of working with two great town managers, Todd Cusimano and Adam Wolf, and seeing Adam grow into this position has been really, really just wonderful to be a part of. And I want to thank, I've worked with so many great council members, and I don't know that the community understands the number of hours you put in for a very measly stipend, but I really do honor your service and the real caring and commitment you bring to make this just a fabulous community. So thank you, Corte Madera. It's been great.
Thanks. And I'm sorry, on that happy note, can I make a motion to extend our meeting 15 minutes because we're past 9:30 so we don't get in trouble?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. And we're going to have all the votes done in 15 minutes. Okay.
We were close.
So, Councilmember Andrews.
Yeah.
Councilmember Beckman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Casissa.
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Okay. And I will speak more to you. If we had more time, I would gush now, but I will gush later.
I should say I'm continuing my affiliation with the firm and will be taking on occasional projects. So I'm here if a need arises, and I'll be working with your new attorneys to ensure a smooth transition.
Thank you so much. So do we have any other council member reports?
I just have one quick one. On January, Rose and I attended Central Marin Police Authority Council meeting. Just two things there. One thing is we just approved a PG&E easement. So I'm sure everybody's aware CMPA is getting EV vehicles. Sorry, so they're building out the infrastructure for charging stations. And just one other thing, a shout out to Central Marin Police. During the floods, their officers were out getting soaked, and I'm sure our public works and a lot of people were, but their officers were out on the streets, not in their patrol cars directing traffic, getting soaked. So just a shout out to them. And just one last request, if I may, we do a moment of silence after we're through for Doug McConnell, because he was a longtime Corte Madera resident. He lived up the street from me, worked out at 5 Points Fitness, and he was just a great guy. So thanks.
Definitely.
My only report is to second that motion for Doug McConnell. I love that he found his most favorite writing home ever at our own Cafe Verde. He was there all the time and really just a sweet guy.
Okay. And then you have your.
I'll give my report at the next meeting.
Okay, great. I'll just give did you have one, Jim? Okay, really, really quick. Just on the 13th, I met with Chief Mike Norton and Captain Kalili to discuss the progress on illegal e-bikes in Central Marin. On the 14th, I attended the first of 5 climate action workshops hosted by Resilient Neighbors. And on 1/16, I attended the new commissioner orientation for the Transportation Authority of Marin, and I will attend my first meeting on Thursday. So with that, we also, the draft agenda for February 3rd, does anyone have anything they'd like to add? No? Okay. Then we will adjourn in the memory of Doug McConnell.